Chapter 96. Towards Jiang Yage's confession, Qingguang only wanted to say 3 simple words: hee hee. I'm not a 3-year-old brat, how can I believe in a fairy tale like love at first sight? And the other party is you, Jiang Yage? Don't joke around, didn't Yang Shi already say it? Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui are the rare acting masters among the young actors. Her every expression, every action, even if it looks sincere, it's definitely acting. As for Jin Shirui's personality, Qingguang felt that he might not be able to see through it, but Jiang Yage is really too obvious. She's an immature woman who likes to play pranks, but has mastered a very abnormal acting skill, a terrifying woman. It's impossible for her to fall in love with me just because I saved her life. She's definitely just trying to tease me. First, she didn't give me any remuneration, then in front of so many people in the crew, she inexplicably declared her sovereignty over me, causing those little female stars who are beautiful enough to make old man drool to keep a respectful distance from me. She helped me get my phone and she even used it to blackmail me. This woman is too unreliable, too sinister and vicious. I'm your savior, how can you try to hurt my fragile little heart time and time again? Humph, trying to trick me? No way. Misunderstanding is really a very scary thing. At least, Qingguang already sees Jiang Yage as a snake, afraid that it's too late to avoid her. Seeing that Qingguang's car has already sped away, Jin Shirui and Jin Shirui were dumbfounded. The two of them looked at each other and it was still Jin Shirui who spoke first. See? You scared him to this extent. What should we do now? We said that we should thank him, but in the end, we didn't even get to give him the money, and he ran away in fear. Jiang Yage sat down and quickly fastened her seatbelt. Hey Sister Shirui, why don't you be the judge? Was my confession not sincere enough? How did he scare me away? I can't accept a failed confession like this. This is a little different from what was written in the scripts of the TV dramas we acted in the past. Shouldn't he be so touched that he clutched his chest and had difficulty breathing? I really can't figure it out, I'm not convinced. Sister Shirui, fasten your seatbelt. You want to run? No way. I don't agree. While speaking, Jiang Yage suddenly stepped on the accelerator, and the red Ferrari 488 rushed out like a red lightning, chasing after Qingguang. Just as the two of them started their Ferraris, Zhou Yun was driving her Volkswagen out of the parking lot. When she saw this scene, her legs immediately turned to jelly. My 2 grandaunts, are you trying to kill this pitiful manager of yours? Oh my god. Zhou Yun felt like slitting her neck and hanging herself when she thought about how the news of 2 goddesses racing on the streets would be on the headlines of all the major newspapers, magazines, and online media the next morning. Forget it, things have already gotten out of control. I have to report this to the 2 young masters' families, or the consequences will be unimaginable. As for Qingguang, he drove out of the film city briskly. His heart finally felt at ease. He finally escaped from the clutches of Jiang Yage. Wujing Film City was built in the eastern suburbs of Wujing City, about 20 kilometers away from the city. Coming out of the film city, the direct road to the city was the similarly newly built Dongxin Avenue. It was a 2-way 4-lane road with a pure asphalt surface. Currently, the traffic flow was still relatively low, and the speed limit was 80 kilometers per hour. It was a good road for driving. Want to kill me? Not so easy. Qingguang whistled, holding the plate in one hand, and the escaped from death, heavenly holy grail in the other. He took a sip of tea and was in a good mood. At this moment, he suddenly heard the loud roar of an engine behind him. He tilted his head, looked into the rearview mirror, and was so scared that he peed his pants. Director, can I say dirty words? Can't I? Then I have nothing to say. Is this woman Jiang Yage sick? Can you at least show some of the modesty of a star? Don't make life difficult for a small character like me, okay? I've already F***king driven away. Why are you still racing to chase me? At this moment his cell phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was an unfamiliar number. When he answered, it was actually Jin Shirui's voice. Qingguang, I'm really sorry. She's stubborn. She said that she'll follow you wherever you drive today. I can't persuade her. By the way, there's a highway cafe at the intersection not far ahead. It's opened by our friend. It's very private and we won't be disturbed or photographed. How about we drink coffee and chat in that cafe? Jin Shirui's tone was full of helplessness. Qingguang's face darkened. Follow wherever I drive? What a great shame. I'm the dignified 13th Wang of the Second Ring Road. I only need 13 minutes to run through the Wujing Second Ring Road. You actually dare to challenge me? Qingguang was angry. Don't even think about following me. He slammed the accelerator, determined to get rid of Jiang Yage. As for the coffee that Jin Shirui said, I'm really sorry, but there's only tea in my dictionary. A minute later, 13th Wang Qingguang's career as a racing god came crashing down. Director, I'm going to get my lunch. This woman is cheating. I'm a broken Hyundai Rena. How can I race with a Ferrari 488? I'll use my head. It's this Dongxin Avenue that everyone can run freely on. Even if I blast the Rena's engine until it's smoking, it can't be compared to someone who steps a little harder on the gas when they sneeze. At this time, Qingguang felt like a non-cash player playing a web-based game. He was online for 20 hours a day. Even when he went to sleep, he set the alarm clock to rob the game. However, the other party was a big R who spent hundreds of thousands of yuan. No matter how hard he tried, he was still beaten to death by the other party. She's completely bullying me. My ride is a mixed donkey that's on the verge of death. Your ride is a flaming rabbit that steps on colorful auspicious clouds. There's no way for us to play happily. Jiang Yage was indeed very satisfied at this time. She drove the car leisurely next to Qingguang. This woman even put down the hood of the car. From time to time she would throw a smug wink at Qingguang. Everything has its vanquisher. If Qingguang behaved like those perverted men and tried to get close to her, she wouldn't be able to do anything to Qingguang. Perhaps Jiang Yage would really look down on Qingguang and casually throw him 100,000 yuan to end their fate. But Qingguang wasn't that kind of person at all. In Jiang Yage's eyes, he was so strong without desire, so special. Whether it was the strength he showed when he braced himself to act, the dazzling brilliance when he became the best actor, or the calmness and respectful distance when facing her and Jin Shirue, the two big stars, it made the image of Qingguang's brother become even bigger in Jiang Yage's heart. Well, in fact, Jiang Yage didn't know that the reason why Master Qingguang was so unhappy with her was because she didn't give money. Could it be that I really have to go for afternoon tea with them? Can I think of a way to use words to force them to give me money to play with them? It seems a bit difficult. After all, the old man is a good young man with 3 values. He wouldn't do such a shameless thing. Then Jiang Yage ruthlessly stabbed him. Sister Shirue, don't talk nonsense. I'm not going to drink afternoon tea. It's too boring. I want to go to the amusement park with brother Qingguang. Get lost. Qingguang hung up the phone, tears streaming down his face. No, I can't get rid of her. Qingguang took his hand to the cup holder. Now that it's come to this, I can only use plan B. Drink some water to calm my nerves and see if I can summon Shinran at the right time. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. It's this familiar feeling. Oh yeah, my cup world. It's coming. Chapter 97. When Qingguang drank the water, he felt the familiar feeling of the world spinning. He was indeed about to be pulled into the world in the cup again. Wait, didn't I just use hypnosis today? Just now, Emperor of the Azure was about to go berserk. Didn't she say that the preparation for the world in the cup was not complete? Now it had shrunk even further. There was no reason for it to come so quickly. In addition, the old man was holding the steering wheel with one hand and drinking water from the cup with the other. Sister, I am the savior. I can do whatever I want. You are the God Emperor. You have to have your own principles of being a god. Don't go overboard. With a flash, Qingguang had once again appeared in the familiar sky above the sea of clouds. Not daring to be careless, Qingguang was on full alert. The first thing he did was to get into a fighting stance. He carefully looked around and was ready to guard against Emperor of the Azure's sneak attack. This karma came too quickly. Qingguang was very nervous. God knew what surprise that woman would prepare for him as a greeting gift. After waiting for a long time, the expected sneak attack did not appear. Qingguang was puzzled. Did Emperor of the Azure change her personality? She suffered such a big loss in my hands just now. She didn't even use her fists to have a friendly conversation with me? Just a little bit unaccustomed to it? Damn it. Not good. I feel like she is going to beat me into AM. I have to go see a psychiatrist later. I feel like I can still be saved. Speaking of which, what was I doing just now? If this is really the world in the cup, what ability will it train me? Driving? That's right. The old man, 13th Wang of the second ring, was actually beaten by a cash player who relied on the performance of a Ferrari 488. The old man lost unjustly. Therefore, the world in the cup this time must be to train the old man's driving skills. That's right. I, 13th Wang of the second ring, am going to evolve into 13th Wang of the round city. 60 kilometers. I'm afraid I have to fly, right? Forget it. This is not important. Don't worry about the details. More importantly, as long as it was a skill that had been trained in the world in a cup, it would definitely be very good. Jiang Yage, just you wait. I'll let you be cocky for another 5 seconds. I'll let you know right away that in front of true godlike driving skills, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Koenigsegg, and Bugatti Veyron are all useless. Wow, the old man was on guard day and night, afraid that the cup world would appear at any time and cause me some trouble. Entering the world in a cup while taking a dump and becoming the king of anal prolapse was especially scary. But now the driving skill was definitely useful. Come on. The heavenly holy grail. Come on. Colored glass female rogue. Come on. World in a cup. Lead me to the path of the strongest god of racing in history. I'm going to conquer MT Akina. Need for Speed, Fast and Furious, Ridge Racing, they're all trash. Brother, I want to become the best racing god in real life. Strange, why hasn't this woman moved yet? I let my guard down because of my imagination. She should have taken action long ago. Hey, Lioli, what are you doing? Is this world in a cup ready or not? Qin Guang yelled at the top of his lungs. If the enemy doesn't move, I won't move. If the enemy doesn't move, I'll move. If you don't appear, I'll take advantage of you. Let's see how long you can hold it in. Qin Guang. You bastard. Finally, the familiar voice of Emperor of the Azure appeared not far in front of him. Qin Guang followed the voice and took a few steps forward. The next second he almost spat out his laughter. My Emperor Lioli, what's wrong with you? Is it very popular among the gods in the endless god realm to plant themselves in the soil for no reason? Is it like planting a god in the spring and harvesting a nest of gods in the autumn? It turned out that Emperor of the Azure's entire body was buried in the sea of clouds. Only her head was exposed. She was planted in the soil. Qin Guang walked forward proudly. Although he didn't know what happened to her, she seemed to be in a bad situation. As her savior, what should I do when my god emperor is in trouble? Of course, I'll take the opportunity to finish her off. While she's sick, I'll take her life. If I let go of such a rare opportunity, I won't be the good young man of the new generation. Qin Guang. Qin Guang. Don't come over. I have good news and bad news for you. If you dare to do anything to me, I'll only tell you the bad news. Emperor of the Azure panicked. This is all because of you. In order to hypnotize you and make you a best actor, I'll give it my all. Now that the lustrous feather raiment is gone, if I don't bury myself in the sea of clouds and hide my body, won't I explode all 3 points? The heaven-defying river crab mythological beast will take your life. Qin Guang grinned. Oh my, I'm so touched that my eyes are brimming with tears. Thank you for your kind intentions. Thinking about it carefully, this god emperor was really pitiful. She followed her savior and changed from a flying goddess to a bikini. Now she even degenerated into a human tree. Other people's golden fingers grew stronger and stronger with the protagonist, becoming more and more cool and heaven-defying. But this golden finger of his was getting worse and worse. Now even her clothes were taken off. Anyone who saw it would be sad. Wait, speaking of which, the world in the cup will shrink like Lioli's clothes? The old man began to panic. All right. Say it. I won't come over. Qin Guang nodded. Look at my eyes. How sincere. If I say I won't come over, I won't come over. Lioli glared at him. Let me tell you. Don't think that I'm hiding my body because I'm afraid you'll take advantage of me. It's for your own good. I'm afraid you'll court death. On the surface, this empress's lustrous feather raiment may look like a cover for me, but it's actually to protect a mortal's fragile divine soul. Back then, this empress only revealed a little of my god emperor's true body, and your mind almost collapsed. Without the cover of the lustrous feather raiment, if you accidentally saw this empress's true body, the consequences would be unimaginable. I'm not bragging. In the endless god realm, all existences below the god-king level will be killed by this empress's true body, never to be reincarnated. Qin Guang's heart trembled. He believed her words. All right. Don't waste your breath. Don't worry. I really won't come over. I'll just sit here and listen to you. I won't foolishly court death. Hurry up and tell me the good news and the bad news first. Lioli was really afraid that he would be so lustful to come over and lift the sea of clouds to take a look. Seeing that he believed her, she was relieved. Of course, she talked so much nonsense just to buy time. After a while, the realm within the cup would almost take the initiative to pull Qin Guang in. The good news is that because the realm within the cup has shrunk further, the amount of work needed to prepare the realm within the cup has been reduced again. So this time, you've indeed taken advantage of it and summoned the realm within the cup in advance. Emperor of the Azure said heavily. Qin Guang's eyelids twitched. Then the bad news is that the situation of the shrinking is very serious? Emperor of the Azure looked at Qin Guang darkly. That's right. Very serious. It's beyond your imagination. Even if you don't die this time, you'll still lose a layer of skin. Anyway, this Empress just added a few things in. It can barely save your life. As for the rest, I don't care. Congratulations, you've successfully become the king of courting death in the endless god realm's long history of billions and billions of years. You're really capable. Chapter 98. Emperor of the Azure only felt that it was a pity. She originally planned to give this grandson a good beating, but she didn't expect the World and Cup to come so fast that she was caught off guard. How long had it been since she used her hypnosis technique, and the lustrous feather robe couldn't even condense a piece of cloth the size of a fingernail. It was really shameful. As for what she said earlier about how Qin Guang couldn't look at the God Emperor's real body, well, she was afraid of being hurt by her own eyes, so she deliberately talked nonsense to fool Qin Guang. In short, she couldn't beat him up today, but the power of the World and Cup would definitely be able to teach this reckless brat a profound lesson. This emperor must let him know why the flowers are so red. Alright, you've told me the good and bad news, right? There's nothing else, right? I should be waiting to enter the World and Cup now, right? Qin Guang slowly stood up, his eyes flashing with a dangerous light. Liuli's heart thumped. It's thick. Such a dangerous look. This guy is courting death. Sure enough, Qin Guang smiled and took 2 more steps back. Then he took off his shoes. It was a pity that he didn't bring steel beads with him, or else glass beads would have been good. Forget it, anyway these 2 pairs of shoes should be enough. You better be more like it. Emperor of the Azure had already guessed Qin Guang's plan, and her face flushed red with anger. She only hated that she couldn't rush up and beat him to death. Qin Guang's mouth crooked. Oh yo, you're angry? But even if you burst your lungs and shout until your throat breaks in this World and Cup, there's no one who can help you. As soon as his voice fell, Qin Guang had already thrown out his shoes, swaying as it flew towards Emperor of the Azure's head. Emperor of the Azure finally raised her jade arm that was hidden in the sea of clouds, blocking Qin Guang's flying shoes. Oh, you have a way. But you're not good enough. Take my shoe god's kill number 2. Qin Guang was extremely cocky, and threw out the second shoe at lightning speed. It was when Emperor of the Azure had just blocked the first shoe and hadn't had the time to withdraw her hand. In martial arts, this was called old strength used up, but new strength was not born. When Liuli wanted to take out a second hand, she was already a step too late, and the sole of the shoe hit her forehead. Exploded, completely exploded. Qin Guang felt indescribably refreshed when he saw that she had slapped his face. Although this woman had helped him a lot, he couldn't live with his conscience if he didn't do something when he thought about how he would be tortured by her every time he entered the intermediate realm. This was already the 3rd time today. Even if he knew that he was playing with fire, he couldn't stop his burning heart from seeking death. Emperor of the Azure glared at Qin Guang. She grabbed his shoes with both hands and wiped the dust off her face. She wanted to throw the shoes back, but she suddenly had an idea and didn't do so. She just looked at him fiercely. I'll let you be happy for a few more seconds. You'll soon know how stupid it was to throw a shoe at me. Looking at her expression, it seemed that she had him in the bag. Qin Guang's heart skipped a beat. Something's wrong. I seem to have forgotten something important. *CK. Since this is a cup to train my driving skills, if I don't have shoes, won't I be stepping on the brake and accelerator barefoot? Something big happened. Sister Liuli, can we talk nicely? Qin Guang immediately put on a flattering smile and looked in Liuli's direction. Why don't you come and try? I can crush you into bone dregs with one hand. Liuli said with a fake smile. Qin Guang didn't dare to go over. He really didn't dare. Liuli knew that he didn't have the guts to come up and court death. She simply closed her eyes and put Qin Guang out of sight and out of mind. Her heart was also desolate. How blind was I to be able to pick so many people and finally choose this cheater? This must be the stupidest and most wrong decision I've ever made in my long life. On the other side, Qin Guang saw that he couldn't get his shoes back. He had no choice but to bite the bullet and wait for the cup to be completely activated. Then he dragged his head in. Wandering in the colorful time-space channel, Qin Guang carried out a deep thought about the future and finally came to a conclusion. He was a little flustered. He broke through the wall of the channel. The next moment, Qin Guang was shocked. He learned something new. So the cup can be played like this? For a moment, Qin Guang burst into tears. My imagination is still not rich enough. He was really ashamed. The old man really didn't expect that there was something below the realm of the health pod. It was called the custom-made, transformable health pod. It turned out that the cup could be so advanced that it even had a transformation function. How considerate and modern. Forget it. At least it's not a shrinking coffin that can only hold half a body, and it's not an urn. Thinking about it this way, it's not completely unacceptable with my current behavior. At this time, Qin Guang was almost sitting like a driver. The space he was in could be said to be a car. Well, it was not a complete car. In a rough description, he was sitting in the driver's seat of an Alto, happily eating hot pot while driving. Then, an incomparably sharp giant knife fell from the sky and cut right in the middle of the Alto. Thus, this unlucky old Alto was cut in half from the middle. The knife was taken away, and the back half of the Alto was swallowed by an unknown void beast. Only Qin Guang, who was sitting in the driver's seat, was left with half of his car. There was no one else who could cut corners like this. Well, Qin Guang couldn't open the door. He didn't know if there was really a car outside. Anyway, he couldn't get out. He guessed that the body of the Alto was equivalent to the edge of the cup. Behind him was a void. Yes, it was the colorful splendor in the space channel. Based on the relationship between Schrödinger and his cat, let's pretend that there really were two wheels on the ground outside. Maybe there really was an engine or some other power assembly under what looked like an engine cover. Who knows? Who cares? Anyway, this car can actually be ignited. Your half-built car can even be ignited. Perhaps, the meaning of the cup was to let me use this half of the car to practice invincible driving skills? Once I accepted the strange setting of the two front wheels being able to run, the experience of the cup this time wasn't that bad. But why is my car a little strange? No matter how I look at it, I feel like I'm in an 8-bit racing game I played when I was a child. The trees and the road outside, why do they all look like pixel mosaics? Wait, my front windshield, my gear lever, my accelerator, brake and clutch pedals, and that completely pixel version of the dashboard in the middle, what's going on? Oh right, my driver's seat and rearview mirror, and my poor passenger seat, they're all pixelated versions. Is there a car CD? Qin Guang decided to give it a try and then he broke down. This familiar music reminded him of his broken childhood. F***ck, it really is the soundtrack of an 8-bit game. But this wasn't what made him break down the most. He finally understood why Lu Li said that the cup this time would be worse than the Mosaic Nutrition Pod. He saw his own pixelated fingers. What kind of a scam was this? I've become AF** King Mosaic. What else in this world could be worse than becoming a mosaic? Chapter 99. Today, Qin Guang had a whole new understanding of the shrinking ability of the world in a cup. I've crossed mountains and seas and I've also passed through mountains and seas of people. Everything I once had has become a mosaic in the blink of an eye. Such an encounter reminded Qin Guang of a game he had played a long time ago. It was called My World. Yup, it was a game where pixelated people would seek death in a pixelated world. It was very interesting. At that time, Qin Guang had even gone to a video website called Bilibili to learn the correct way to start the game. He had also spent 700 to 800 hours criticizing this kind of low-quality game. But when it really happened to him, he just wanted to yell out in a serious tone, "This is not interesting at all. See, this is the result of your own actions, you little death-seeking expert. If you didn't force me to help you twice, you would have a beautiful lakeside villa this time. Now that the situation is like this, don't blame the heavens and others, just accept your fate. You have to know that the Holy Grail had originally prepared a set of armor for you. It was the kind that would allow you to maintain the driving position forever, but you would not be able to move up, down, left, or right. Although it looked exquisite, it was not as spacious as a coffin. I spent a lot of effort to dilute the energy of the world in a cup this time, but I barely managed to create half a car for you. As for the image quality, just bear with it and it will be over." Azure's voice sounded. Qin Guang wiped away the mosaic tears. "I really have to thank you for saving my life." He roughly imagined the situation that Azure had described and only felt his hair stand on end. If that was really the case, he was dead for sure. This was definitely 10,000 times scarier than being confined in the army. Although it was very bad now, at least he could move his hands and feet a little. Let me tell you the requirements of this test. Just as you guessed, this is a world that is very similar to the racing games you have played before. Your task is very simple. Drive this broken little car and overcome all the obstacles. As long as you can successfully pass the 9th stage before the car crashes and you die 100 times, you will have completed the test. Qin Guang laughed as he replied, "That's simple. 413th Wang of the second ring, was this not like playing house? I'm good at games too." Seeing that he was still acting recklessly, Lu Li hurriedly reminded him, "Don't be in such a hurry to be complacent, you'd better be more serious. If you fail you will really die. I can't save you either. Similar to the transient sea, you can revive with full health after dying 99 times, but you will really die the last time. I'm not joking with you. The previous Dota test was just continuous training." Even though it was a little hard, tiring, and insane, there was no risk of dying. The driving test this time had returned to the style of the instantaneous sea. If you lost, you would die. Chen Guang's expression became serious as he nodded heavily. Don't worry. I'm born with a feeling for driving. I won't go overboard. After all, it's 100 revival chances. It's the same as the instantaneous sea, I know it. Seeing that he had become serious, Lu Li's heart relaxed slightly. She didn't say anything more. Okay then, you're on your own. Good luck. The first test was to reach the first speed test point in front of them within 5 minutes and maintain a speed of no less than 120 km per hour when passing through the speed test point. No problem. Chen Guang's pixel face smiled confidently. He extended his pixel legs forward, pressed down on the pixel clutch, put on the pixel gear lever and roared on the accelerator. The pixel car began to move. Seeing the pixel road in front of him continuously recede, there was no need to mention how good it felt. On the other hand, Chen Guang was leisurely. He was even in the mood to examine the trees by the side of the road. He found that these trees looked very similar to the tea leaves he had soaked in. He couldn't help but think to himself, if one day I changed my cup to coffee, what would it be like? When he thought of the color of the coffee, it would be slightly scary if he was trapped by the yellow lake. It was at this moment that the car shook violently. At the same time, another pixel car sped past his car. The window of that car was rolled down, and the pixel person in the driver's seat seemed to be looking at Chen Guang with disdain. As for Chen Guang, after the car was hit, he completely flipped over after losing control of it. *CK. It turns out that there's an opponent in this cup world who's playing dirty tricks. Fortunately, I won't die from this degree of flipping over, right? Chen Guang tried to open the car door and think of a way to straighten the car, but he heard the dull and ear-piercing roar of a loudspeaker. He turned his head to look and saw a pixel car that was at least 10 times the size of an Alto speeding along the road. Don't think about getting lucky. The real cup world is only as big as your car. What you see outside is equivalent to the image in the game. Do you think you can get out of your car when you play a racing game? You can't open the door. Lu Li's voice rang out at the wrong time, strangling Chen Guang's last hope. *CK. Flipping over is equivalent to death. Chen Guang burst into tears. The old man died such an unjust death. The pixel car whizzed past, and the main character fell from the three-dimensional world to the two-dimensional world. Simply put, he was flattened. This experience reminded Chen Guang of the almost forgotten Sea of Time. At that time he also got stabbed when he popped out. *CK. This racing god world isn't any better. It's poisonous. The test of the cup world had always been full of malice. The first time a car crash and a person's death came so violently. The scene flashed and Chen Guang returned to the starting point. All the bones in his body were in so much pain that they were about to fall apart. He couldn't accept it. The old man had become a pixel person, so why was the pain still so real? No, if he was really flattened by a heavy truck, he would have been sent to heaven in an instant. There was no reason for it to be so painful. Could it be that I added something to this cup world? As he expected, Lu Li showed up again. Right, I forgot to tell you that I feel that your willpower is still rather weak. Therefore, in order to improve your willpower, I probably increased the normal pain in the intermediate realm a little bit just to improve your willpower. Wasn't it very considerate of me to do that? Lu Li was a bit surprised. You're right. How much is a little? 100%. Get lost. Chen Guang felt that the decision to throw the shoe at this woman before coming in was too wise. If he had known that she was so deceptive, he would have taken off his underwear and covered her head, letting her have a taste of that sour feeling. Well, no matter how deceptive it was, he had dripped his blood on this deceptive artifact that had recognized him as its master. He had to finish this test with tears in his eyes. Gritting his teeth, Chen Guang stepped on the accelerator again. Let's go. The old man was the man who wanted to become the strongest racing god. How could he fall at the first test? Chen Guang didn't expect that this was the beginning of his nightmare. Chapter 100. After a total of 13 failures, he finally completed the first test. It sounded simple, but his car was actually just a poor little Alto. Which normal person would drive this broken car at 120 km per hour? The steering wheel would start flying at 100 km per hour, and 120 km per hour was even better. Moreover, who knew if there would be any accidents when passing the speed test point? To maintain this speed steadily, he would have to accelerate to at least 130 km per hour. Fortunately, Chen Guang was not a normal person. He was the king of death in the long history of the endless celestial realm. People called him the super driver. Time and time again he lost control of the car and ran off the road. Sometimes he had already sped up to 130 kilometers per hour, only to be scratched or sent flying by a faster little B*TCH. The worst time was when the speed test point was right in front of him, but a heavy truck that had sped to 180 kilometers per hour caught up to him and ran over him. In the end he failed on the verge of success. Your big truck really knows how to play. It can go 180 kilometers per hour. When I have money I will definitely buy an Alto. I will modify it so much that it can't even beat a Bugatti Veyron. In any case, after going through all kinds of difficulties and dying 13 times, he finally passed the first test. After passing the test he suddenly realized, oh, there are strengthening points? The second test seemed simple. Maintain a speed of 180 kilometers per hour for 20 seconds and survive. Qin Guang's face darkened. This broken Alto's top speed couldn't even reach 180 kilometers per hour, okay? Weight strengthening points? The old man understood. Fine, what control index, what car stability, what acceleration performance, all of that can be put aside for now. Focus on top speed. The old man was a godly person who wanted to accelerate the Alto to 180 kilometers per hour. It was just that the mission description seemed to be confusing. And survive seemed to have a deeper meaning behind it. Qin Guang really did not want to imagine how the Alto could float at 180 kilometers per hour. With a slight twist of the steering wheel, it could almost fly into the sky. As expected of the champion of the fancy-style death-seeking competition. Even though he was in such a terrible condition, he still managed to survive. How could an ordinary person become a top racer in the shortest amount of time? Apart from having an outstanding master guiding them, the most important factor was that they were not afraid of death. Daring to think, daring to do. Although the graphics quality of Pixel Racing God World was moving and the sound effects were terrible, the core function of driving was achieved to perfection. It looked like a game, but the actual driving feeling was no different from driving in real life. Other than that, the 9 stages that the realm in the cup had set for him were also very specific, and the difficulty was also increased step by step. He was tested from a different angle, forcing him to challenge his limits again and again in an Alto that had poor control. Before dying more than 90 times, Qin Guang was undoubtedly very courageous and capable. No matter how uncomfortable it felt to die each time, he knew that it was just an illusion. Anyway, he would soon be back to full health. It was just that the feeling of stepping on the clutch, brake and accelerator with his bare feet was a little painful. The skin on the soles of his feet would break after a few steps. At this time he was secretly glad that he was a pixel person so he did not have to see such an ugly and bloody scene. Finally, when he drove the small, broken Alto that had all kinds of enhancements and competed with pixel people whose performance was equivalent to that of a professional team, he finished the last stage of the Dakar Rally and successfully won the championship. He won. He finally became the person on Earth who was the best at driving an Alto. At this time he had died exactly 95 times. It was easy to say, but he had died 95 times in a state of doubled pain. What did it feel like to die when the car was destroyed? How could it feel good? It was either being flattened or being knocked away. No matter which time it was so painful that it felt like dying and coming back to life. It was a feeling that he could not bear to recall. When Emperor of the Azure said that the doubled pain was to improve his willpower, Qin Guang expressed that he did not feel any improvement in his willpower. This only made the old man more and more afraid of death. Forget it. No matter how painful and difficult it was finally over. Qin Guang let out a long sigh of relief. He was free. He was a little drunk. As he poked his head out of the space-time tunnel, he thought to himself, why the hell do I have such a fate with the number 95? Am I born to be a 95? You are indeed the savior that I have chosen. You can even drive such a small, broken car perfectly. Needless to say, your own car is even better. What a brave young man. It's time to go out and show your amazing skills. As soon as Qin Guang poked his head out, he smelled a familiar sour smell. Then a pair of shoes hit his eyes. F***ck. You plotted against me? Qin Guang screamed. His eyes were blocked by the shoes so he did not see anything and was kicked out of the cup by Lioli. I don't know how long I stayed in there this time. I'm driving outside. I don't want to go down the slope the moment I get out. The scene in front of him flashed and Qin Guang was sitting in the car again. He stared ahead and saw his car rushing straight to the side of the road along a diagonal line. The cup was still in his hand. Qin Guang was so shocked that he threw the cup to the side. He tapped on the brakes with the tip of his foot while fine-tuning the steering wheel. The old driver, Qin Guang, had rich experience in dealing with losing control of a car. The more critical the moment, the more he could not slam on the brakes. Otherwise, the car that could be controlled would completely lose control and skid due to the sudden brake failure, which would lead to more serious consequences. Of course, the degree of turning the steering wheel also required very precise control. If it was too much, the car would also skid. If it was too little, the direction would not be able to turn, and he would still crash into the side of the road. As a driver, in the face of danger, he had to make the most correct choice in the shortest time possible and put it into practice. He also had to use his hands, feet, eyes, and ears perfectly. The range of his movements was neither too big nor too small, and the degree of control was just right. Only then would he be able to turn the danger into a blessing. If it was the Qin Guang of the past, he would most likely be sent to the big repair shop with his car when he encountered such a situation. But today he was the man who was the best at driving an Alto on Earth. He could even drive an Alto that could go up to 300 kilometers per hour, so a mere modern Rena that could go up to 80 kilometers per hour was nothing. After losing control for a short while, his car drew a beautiful arc on the side of the road, and he was pulled back to the main road by a hair's breadth. He continued to speed along the main road. Qin Guang was more scared than hurt, but Jin Yu and Jiang Yu, who were following closely behind him, were scared out of their wits. They thought that he was so angry that he went crazy. Seeing that he had finally returned to normal with great difficulty, the two women felt relieved. Jin Shuiwe said nervously, "Yage, it seems that he really doesn't want to accompany us today. I also think that you're a little too impatient. Why don't we just forget about it today? Why don't we find another opportunity to talk to him about it?" Jiang Yage thought for a few seconds but shook her head. "Sister Shuiwe, I understand what you're saying. But look at how busy we are with work, flying around in the sky all day long. How can we have time to talk to him face to face? If we miss this opportunity today, we won't be able to resolve the misunderstanding. I think he will definitely see the two of us as scourges and fierce beasts in the future, and we won't even have time to hide from him." Jin Shuiwe didn't say anything else. She knew that what Jiang Yage said was the truth. She only sighed in her heart and didn't know what exactly she was regretting. Chapter 101. On the other side, Qin Guang had already felt his powerful driving skills after training in the world in a cup. He was very proud of himself. So the problem was, although he was driving a Rena that was much better than an Alto, there were no strengthening points in the real world to modify the Rena. Behind him was a Ferrari that only took 3 or 4 seconds to accelerate 100 kilometers. On this unimpeded Dongxin Avenue, even if he was the best racing god in history, it would be a waste. However, he was not in a hurry. After running online rental in Wujing for more than half a year, Qin Guang knew the roads around the city like the back of his hand. If he remembered correctly, about 30 kilometers east of Wujing Film City, there was the Fengquan Mountain Racetrack, known as the Wujing Racing Paradise. Regardless of whether outsiders knew about it or not, at least in the eyes of the local racers in Wujing, the status of the Fengquan Mountain Racetrack was almost equivalent to the Qiuming Mountain Racetrack in Initial D. It was a holy land. It was unknown who was so rich and stupid to build such a meaningless two-way lane. In short, it wound all the way up Fengquan Mountain and then spiraled down. There were many sharp bends. At most, there would be a U-shaped bend every few hundred meters. There were also so many S-shaped bends that it was impossible to count. In the eyes of a pragmatist like Qin Guang, this 20-kilometer-long Fengquan Mountain Racetrack was simply a big toy for some rich people. Of course, on second thought, some people bought a Bugatti Veyron for more than 20 million yuan. In order to find a suitable place for this toy to run, and then find some like-minded people to auction off some money to build a racetrack, it was not so unacceptable. We are just losers, we don't understand how stupid the world is for money. Qin Guang had also been to that place, but of course he was not there to race. It was just that in the middle of the night, he was unlucky enough to drag a passenger who was going to the Fengquan Mountain Racetrack to be a racing girl. At that time he was just passing by, and he was beaten up by a group of crazy people who were racing. After all, the most inferior cars in that place were at the level of BMW Z4. Qin Guang's broken Reno was too eye-catching. What infuriated him the most was that there was a grandson who drove an Audi R8 and circled around him for a whole minute. The pungent smell of burnt tires and the roar of the engine in his ears almost disgusted him to death. After that unpleasant experience, Qin Guang was no longer willing to take people to the Fengquan Mountain Racetrack. But I'm different from the past. Even if I'm driving a little rundown Rena, it can't hide my temperament as the god of racing. On normal roads there was a speed limit. Good citizen Qin Guang didn't want to break the law by speeding, and the car's performance was excellent. It was impossible for him to get rid of Jiang Yage's Ferrari 488. That's right, Qin Guang intended to bring Jiang Yage, this reckless woman, to the Phoenix Spring Mountain. As long as they reached that place, Qin Guang believed that with his godlike driving skills, he would only need 2 corners to make Jiang Yage retreat. As long as he reached that place, Qin Guang believed that with his godly driving skills, he would only need 2 turns to make Jiang Yage retreat. Hey, why did he suddenly make a turn? Seeing him suddenly turn his head and no longer go to downtown Wujing, Jiang Yage exclaimed. Jin Shuiwa thought for a moment. Maybe he changed his mind and plans to take us to a small scenic spot nearby. After all, the people in the scenic spot are not so dense, and the possibility of us being recognized is lower. Jiang Yage nodded. Brother Qin Guang is so considerate. About 10 minutes later, the 2 women were even more certain of Qin Guang's plan. He was indeed going to Fengquan Mountain, a famous scenic spot in Wujing. The 2 thought that Qin Guang would stop at the gate of the Fengquan Mountain scenic spot, but they didn't expect him to make another turn and drive around the gate of the scenic spot to go deeper. Jin Shuiwa was a little uneasy at this time. After all, their identities were special and they were conspicuous targets. She was going to persuade Jiang Yage to give up and stop forcing Qin Guang, but she received a call from her agent, Zhou Yun. Her original intention was to persuade the 2 of them to go back, but it made Jin Shuiwa change her mind. My Miss Jin, please let me save my energy. I know it's my fault. I should have thought of another way to give him the check. Let's not chase him today, okay? Later, I will definitely find a chance to pay him a visit and thank him. Then I will invite him to meet the 2 of you. Come back. I'm following behind with 3 cars of people. Your families already know about this, so how would I dare to let you 2 race? Zhou Yun said. Jin Shuiwa secretly laughed. Since Zhou Yun was following behind with 3 cars of people, it didn't matter as long as the sky didn't fall. Don't be fooled by her dignified and generous appearance. Sometimes she had a little temper. Qin Guang moved forward and went straight to the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. He calculated the time. It was only afternoon, and the active time of that group of non-mainstream punks was at least after 9 o'clock in the evening. There should be no one there now, right? After making up his mind, he passed the last speed camera in front of Fengquan Mountain. Qin Guang stepped hard on the accelerator. No one hit me. I'm going to take off. Qin Guang's sudden acceleration caught Jiang Yage off guard, and she quickly sped up to keep up. As they got closer to the Fengquan Mountain racetrack, the road gradually became narrower. It changed from 4 lanes to 2 lanes and there were more curves along the way. Qin Guang licked his lips. If he remembered correctly, he would reach the gathering place of those late-night racing gangs in about 4 or 5 minutes. It was a large open-air parking lot. The last time he was humiliated by someone, it was also in that parking lot. This man, no matter how honest he said he was, in fact, he had a heart that pursued speed and passion deep in his heart. However, racing was dangerous and never worth advocating. Without the ability and a suitable track, it was not easy to try it so as to avoid harming others and oneself. Qin Guang was also a model good citizen. Even if he violated the rules when he was online, his heart would ache for a few days. He was even more isolated from racing. Unfortunately, he was in a special situation today. First, there was a shameful pay-to-win player following behind him, who forcefully rode on his face with a Ferrari 488 to humiliate him, a 2-ring 13th Wang. Second, he had just driven the magically modified Alto in the Racing Gods Cup for a long time. His blood was still burning and his heart was ready to move. He couldn't stop. My fighting spirit is so high that it's about to explode. If I don't do something and release some passion, I'm afraid I'll be so excited that I'll spontaneously combust. Chapter 102. The Racing Gods Cup didn't last long. Even the 9 stages added up to less than 2 months. Driving wasn't as boring as playing games in front of the computer. Qin Guang was a pixelated person who didn't feel tired or sleepy. His mind was also sealed by the world in a cup, so he didn't feel tired at all. Especially the last Dakar rally track. The ups and downs on the road, the emergency situation that could happen at any time, and the scene could change in an instant. Needless to say, it was exciting. Every second brought a sense of excitement. Of course, the normal Dakar rally track had a break. Although Qin Guang didn't feel tired, he would feel annoyed after driving for a long time. He could stop the car. Although there was nothing else to do, listening to the 8-bit game accompaniment in the car was a way to pass the time and improve his mood. Once he accepted this setting, it seemed that the accompaniment of the 8-bit game also became pleasant to listen to. Therefore, the Racing Gods Cup this time didn't make Qin Guang nauseous like the hellish Dota training last time. Other than the calluses on his bare feet getting thicker and thicker, and the pain of dying from time to time, it was a rather enjoyable experience. It only allowed him to race to his heart's content and feel extremely comfortable. However, just as his skills reached their peak, he left again. At this time, Qin Guang was full of fighting spirit and longed for more. No matter how he drove the modified Alto in the world in a cup, it couldn't compare to the real thing outside. His adrenaline was out of control. Qin Guang only felt that the old man's axe was thirsty and thirsty, as if it wanted to drink blood. At this time, Qin Guang was uncharacteristically looking forward to it. He hoped that the unlucky Audi R8 was there. If there really was such a coincidence, he would redeem himself today and show them what a real racing god was. He would make them tremble at the sight of arena car for the rest of their lives. It was because of his abnormal excitement that he had thoughtlessly brought Jin Jiang and Jin Rui to this place. Under normal circumstances, with his personality, he wouldn't do something that would bring trouble to others. He would rather be in trouble himself than really hope that something would happen to Jin Jiang and the others because of him. With a rather complicated mood, Qin Guang finally arrived at the parking lot. As soon as he arrived, his eyes drifted inside and immediately lit up. That's right. There were only a few cars parked sparsely in the empty parking lot, leaning against each other. A few young men and girls were gathered around the cars, chatting about something. It looked quite lively. Among these cars there was the blue Audi R8 that Qin Guang couldn't forget. That's right. It was this grandson. Even if he was burned to ashes, Qin Guang would still remember. Well, if he was really burnt to ashes, there was no need to remember him. In any case, this was not important. More importantly, the petty and vengeful Master Qin Guang felt that the opportunity for the old man to take revenge had come. Since he was going to race, he might as well take the opportunity to let this grandson have a taste of the dust. As soon as he thought of it, Qin Guang turned the car around and walked across the parking lot leisurely towards the place where the youngsters were gathered. Before Qin Guang could get close, Jiang Yage's red Ferrari had also arrived. However, she hesitated for a while and didn't continue to follow Qin Guang. There were quite a number of outsiders over there and they looked like rich kids. Jiang Yage didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. She knew that with her and Jin Shiyue's reputation, if the rich kids saw them outside, it would cause a lot of unnecessary waves. In her eyes, only Qin Guang was on her side. So, she chose to stop and watch from afar, not knowing what Qin Guang was planning. On the other side, the few people also noticed the small broken car of unknown origin. They stood up and watched from afar, not knowing what this daring guy wanted to do. In Wujing City, who didn't know the industry didn't know whose territory this Fengquan mountain belonged to. How did he dare to drive here so boldly? Just take the cars here today for example. If one of the wheels was pulled off, it would be enough to exchange for his whole car. Without a price tag of more than 600,000 yuan, wasn't coming to this place just asking to be humiliated? These young people who liked to race cars and their families were not short of money, would inevitably develop an arrogant temperament. It might not be so easy to show it in front of people of the same status, but in front of a stinky loser who drove a small broken car of 70,000 yuan, the innate sense of superiority in their mentality was highlighted. Moreover, the matter of racing cars, after all, had to be avoided from the common people. Injuring oneself was one thing, but killing a few common people was bound to cause a sensation. So, this group of people from Wujing City gathered together to build this track in Fengquan Mountain. They had always regarded the Longquan Mountain race track as their own private paradise. This was a private paradise that they had painstakingly built. Although the outside was not prohibited from passing, they had never welcomed outsiders to enter. So, the last time Qin Guang unknowingly brought a guest into this place, he was severely humiliated by the guy driving the R8. He said that the guy was arrogant, but in fact this was also a way for them to drive away outsiders. Damn. When this bastard stops, I'll go and smash him. A sharp-haired guy in a punk vest said with gritted teeth. He was the owner of the blue R8. Xiao Zhong, I happen to have a card here. It's the pocket money my father gave me yesterday. 80,000 yuan. It's just enough to buy him Rena. Take it. On the side, another young man flew out a card from his wallet. Xiao Zhong didn't stand on ceremony with him. He took the card and grinned. Look at you. His car is at least 5 or 6 years old and you still give him 80,000 yuan? Why don't you give him a 50% discount? That person spread his hands. Of course you have to make it look imposing when you smash a car. You're not letting us down by bargaining over such a small amount of money. Xiao Zhong chuckled. That's true. Just as these people were chatting, Qin Guang's Rena was getting closer and closer. Xiao Zhong and the rest had a dangerous look on their faces. They were waiting for Qin Guang to stop so that they could swarm him. What was strange was that as the Rena got closer, it didn't seem to slow down at all. Qin Guang had many ideas in his mind. How could he provoke these people into racing with him without getting into a direct confrontation? After all, he was just a commoner, and the people here were all second-generation rich kids. His license plate number was still there. If he really offended them, he might end up in trouble later. If he got out of the car and used words to provoke them, it was hard to guarantee that things wouldn't get out of control. Now that he had hit a few of them accidentally, things would become difficult to resolve. Therefore, the simplest way was to not get out of the car and show them what he was capable of. Don't you guys like racing? Don't you guys think that racing is cool? I'm not going to compete with you in terms of wealth. I'm going to use my driving skills to blind your dog eyes. Let's see how you're going to compete with me in the future. I'll treat it as my repayment for drifting around me with the R8 the other day. Qin Guang's plan was well thought out. He did not directly provoke them, but he showed them his driving skills in front of them. It was not worth it for these people to hold a grudge against him for such a small conflict. He could not rule out the possibility that these crazy racing enthusiasts would worship his godlike driving skills. Who knows, they might even follow his license plate number and come to him to learn from him. Should he start a racing god training class? The tuition fees could not be low, or else it would seem low class. It would at least cost 10,000 yuan a day, right? Just thinking about it made him feel good. So, charge. Don't slow down. I'll show you what it means to have godlike driving skills. Chapter 103. Qin Guang's car was getting closer and closer to little Zhong's group. He stepped heavily on the accelerator with his right foot, exerting more and more strength each time. The engine roared violently, bringing with it a strong sense of oppression. F***ck. What is this bastard trying to do? Little Zhong and the others were dumbfounded. They thought they were already very lawless people, but they had never seen such an unreasonable person. We have no enmity with you. Did you take the wrong medicine or something? Why are you coming straight for us? You're being a little unreasonable. By the time little Zhong and the others realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. It was too late for them to scatter and escape. Qin Guang looked at these people panicking like frightened little sheep. He felt quite sour in his heart. The last time he came here, he was like a pitiful little lamb, curled up in the driver's seat of the arena, watching a group of demons and ghosts dance outside. The huge parking lot was filled with the fireworks that these people had thrown on the ground, and the screams that sounded like they were in a horror movie came one after another. The blue Audi R8, on the other hand, was like a prehistoric beast that kept drifting around Qin Guang's car. The thick smoke from the burnt tires was everywhere. At that time, Master Qin Guang only had one thought in his heart. F***ck, a little scratch on the car of these bastards would cost tens of thousands of yuan. How could I stand it? Therefore, no matter how unhappy he was at that time, he could only obediently shrink in the car and wait for the bastards to circle around enough before quickly running away with the anti-fog lights on. He regarded this matter as a great humiliation in his life. Now that the river has turned, it's time for me to show off a little. So what if your car is good? As long as I'm skilled, I can even drive an Alto. They're about to collide. As Qin Guang sped up once more, his tattered car finally arrived before little Zhong and the rest. At this moment, those youths who boasted that they had experienced a grand scene in Phoenix Spring Mountain were completely blinded. Just as Qin Guang was less than 10 meters away from them, he finally slammed on the brakes and turned the steering wheel. At the same time, he shifted gears from fifth to first, and then slammed on the accelerator. Hence, under the dumbfounded gaze of little Zhong and the others, the arena made a sharp turn. Then, it went around them and drifted to the side, circling around the cars parked behind them. Then he took the opportunity to stick to the back of the outermost car. In the end, Qin Guang's car was stuck in the gap between the outermost car and the cliff at the edge of the open-air parking lot, which was less than 4 meters long. Even the rear of his car and one of the rear wheels were flung out of the cliff. Then Qin Guang smugly stepped on the gas pedal and drove the small broken car out of the parking lot. It was time to escape. Little Zhong and the other youngsters foolishly swung their heads around Qin Guang's car. They were shocked. They had seen drifting with their lives on the line, but they had never seen anyone who dared to do it like this. Brother, you're being too pretentious. You've already flung one of the rear wheels out. Just a little more and the other rear wheel would have flown out too. That was a cliff that was more than 10 meters high. The scene looked thrilling, but in fact, racing god Qin Guang was rather calm, because the entire situation of the car was under his control. I'm not kidding. If I were driving a magically modified Alto, I would be able to fling out 2 rear wheels, let alone one. What? You're saying that my car is rear drive? Don't joke around. I've driven an Alto with only half a car to the end of Dakar. That's definitely a rear drive. Jiang Yage saw that Qin Guang had escaped, so she quickly followed him. As for little Zhong and the others, they recovered from their momentary daze. F***ck your grandpa? This son of AB***'s just slapping our faces. Little Zhong was the first to jump up. The few of them were veterans in Wujing City's underground racing scene, yet they were provoked by a guy driving a broken Rena car. How could they feel good about it? Someone else saw through it. Little Zhong, look at the distance between Erliu's M3 and the cliff in the parking lot. That son of AB***'s car is more than 4 meters long. He's drifting diagonally over it. And there's no contact at all in front. The front of the car is only 2 fingers away from the M3. F***ck, this skill is amazing. Little Zhong's eyelids twitched as he looked at the tire scratches on the ground, especially the black mark on the right rear wheel that had been flung out of the cliff. It was even more shocking. The word flashed across everyone's mind. Expert. Little Zhong reacted quickly. F***ck, whether he's an expert or a professional, we can't tolerate him coming to Phoenix Spring Mountain to trample on our faces. Just, we have to at least see what he looks like. Otherwise I'll have a mental block. Little Zhong was the first to rush back to his blue R8, slamming the accelerator and charging out. Further ahead, Qin Guang was not in a hurry to speed up. He saw Jiang Yage behind him and knew that it wouldn't be long before the vengeful blue R8 would find him. Before that, Qin Guang planned to find a suitable opportunity to tell Jiang Yage to give up. Sure enough, it didn't even take a minute for the Audi R8 to turn around and appear not far behind Qin Guang. Qin Guang's heart skipped a beat. He estimated that it was time and began to speed up again. What? Someone said that he didn't wait to keep pace with the others before speeding up. That's not fair. Stop joking, you're driving a sports car while I'm driving an A-class compact. That's the biggest F***king injustice. As Qin Guang really accelerated, Jiang Yage, who was behind him, was the first to be unable to bear it. Especially when Qin Guang drove through the first sharp corner, not only did he not slow down, but he also slammed the accelerator, desperately speeding up, which made Jiang Yage even more dumbfounded. What is he doing? This corner is so sharp. How can he drive like that? Does he want to die? When she really came to this corner, Jiang Yage was so nervous that she slammed on the brakes to control the car. She was so anxious that she screamed. She was not worried about herself, but worried about Qin Guang. On the other side, little Zhong and the others followed closely. Although Jiang Yage's car looked a little unfamiliar, it was still a valuable Ferrari 488. Little Zhong and the others just thought that it was a child from a wealthy family in Wujing City who wanted to stroll around and see the world. If it was another time, little Zhong and the others would definitely receive the newcomers well, but today's situation was special, so they just shouted when they passed by, which was considered a greeting. Before Jiang Yage could react, she was overtaken by little Zhong and the other real racers one after another. She took the kind shouts of little Zhong and the others as a provocation. These guys look down on me. She was so angry that she wanted to play with her life. Jin Shirue stopped her in time. Yage, calm down. Qin Guang is going to race with others. If we join in, we will only cause trouble for him. With Jiang Yage's driving skills, it was already a big mistake to drive into the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. If she was allowed to race with Qin Guang like this, she was afraid that she would really overturn the car. This time it was really a headache. Chapter 104. Jiang Yage nodded helplessly. I always feel that this guy deliberately drove the car on this road just to not let me follow. I'm so angry. Am I that scary? Don't tell me I'm going to eat him? Jin Shirue secretly rolled her eyes. From the first moment you saw someone, you opened your mouth and said my dear Solomon, and the next thing you said was my brother Qin Guang. If this isn't eating people, then what is it? Just drive slower and follow them to see the situation. I'm really afraid that something will happen. In the end, Jin Shirue didn't back down and said so. In fact, even if Jiang Yage was asked to turn around and leave, she wouldn't agree right now. Although this road was very thrilling and exciting, it wasn't really that dangerous if they drove slowly. It was just that the crazy roar of the engine could be heard from time to time in front of them, echoing repeatedly in the mountains and forests of Fengquan Mountain like muffled thunder. It was really embarrassing. Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage were worried that something big would happen in front of them. At this time, Qin Guang didn't need anyone to worry for him. He was so happy that he was about to ascend to heaven. The small second-hand Rena really gave him the feeling of driving a Koenigsegg. He swayed left and right along the mountain road and he couldn't make a good turn. No matter how sharp the turn was, he didn't have the thought of stopping at all in his mind. Che Xingguang only wanted to use 2 words to express his feelings at this time. Sorry, my foot is stuck to the accelerator. Sorry, I'll die if I don't drift. Although his small broken car and Xiao Zhong's modified Blue R8 weren't on the same level in terms of performance, it couldn't stop him from doing it. Even if Xiao Zhong played with his life, he didn't dare to not brake at all when passing an S-shaped sharp turn. Although every time they encountered a straight road, Xiao Zhong and the others could quickly close the distance between the 2 sides by relying on the performance of the car, this was the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. Most of the time there were sharp turns and there weren't many straight roads. Such road conditions provided the greatest convenience for Qin Guang, the new racing god, and suppressed the impact of the performance gap between the 2 cars to the extreme. It was a full 20 kilometers of track, and every turn left a pitch-black tire mark left by Qin Guang drifting across. The distance between him and Xiao Zhong and the others had never really been shortened. When he finally rushed down the mountain from the other side, Xiao Zhong and the others were at least more than a kilometer behind him, not to mention Jiang Yage, who was driving a Ferrari 488. It was estimated that she was still crying on the mountain at this time. Qin Guang was extremely smug. Revenge was a dish best served cold. Little thief. Today I'll let you have a taste of what it's like to not even be able to eat my dust. It can be considered as paying back the shame of drifting. I want to let you know that there is always someone better than you out there. After all, Qin Guang was still a good person. After leaving the Fengquan Mountain racetrack, he didn't really walk away without a conscience. Instead he called Jin Shiyue back. Shiyue, you should let Solomon save her energy. She really can't catch up with me. Although the sports car you drive is very powerful, your brother's driving skills are earth-shattering. It's really not something you and other women can look up to. It's really inconvenient for me to take you to play in Wujing City. You two are too conspicuous. By the way, this road is a real racetrack. There are many sharp corners. You have a steady temperament. You have to keep an eye on Solomon. Don't let her speed up randomly. You must pay attention to safety. Although I really want to get rid of you two today, if something really happens to you because of this, my conscience won't be at ease. Qin Guang said honestly. Jin Shiyue's heart was filled with sweetness. Even though he was just being polite, it somehow sounded so pleasing to her ears. She nodded and said, I'll listen to you. I'll hold on to her. We're not even going at 40 kilometers per hour right now, don't worry. Regarding Qin Guang's driving skills, Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue had thoroughly seen it. They were completely sure that in addition to being good at swimming, their savior's driving skills were really not just for show. As a half-experienced driver, Jiang Yage was even more shocked. It must be known that she also had a younger brother who liked to race blindly. She had also sat in her brother's car. Her younger brother, who was known as the king of cars in Yanjing, didn't even have the qualifications to carry Qin Guang's shoes. It was a pity that in the end they couldn't sit down and have a good chat with him. Jin Jiang and Jin Shiyue felt very regretful. On the other side, when he heard that their car speed was less than 40 kilometers per hour, Qin Guang was also relieved. He planned to hang up the phone after a few more polite greetings. Well, that's it for the time being. When there is a chance in the future, let's find a place where it's not easy to run into each other and have a good chat. Of course, his words couldn't be more pure politeness. Jin Shiyue also understood. She sighed again. Alas, it's really a pity. In fact, I have been thinking about what to give you to express my gratitude. You are the savior of me and Yage. It's a bit tacky to give you money. So yesterday, I finally asked a friend to send a Patek Philippe men's watch. I wanted to find a suitable opportunity to give it to you when we had coffee today to express our gratitude. But, alas. You are so polite. Please don't give me any watch. I am used to using my mobile phone to check the time. I have never had the habit of wearing a watch since I was a child. It's really uncomfortable to wear that thing on my wrist. It's very good to be friends with the two of you. I'm very satisfied. Please don't give me any watch. Otherwise, I will be angry with you. Qin Guang was not interested in the watch that Jin Shiyue mentioned at all. It's just a watch. How much can it be worth? If you really want to thank me, give me money. If I take your watch, how can I have the face to rub my fingers in front of you and give you hints? But in the end, he couldn't say such tacky words. People want face and trees want bark. Master Qin Guang has to have some face. Jiang Yade's voice came from the other side of the phone. She shouted while driving, Sister Shiyue, you are too much. You actually bought a watch for Qin Guang Gij behind my back. Qin Guang couldn't be bothered to listen to the two of them arguing. He only said that he was still driving and hung up the phone. On the other side, Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui knew that they couldn't catch up with Chen Guang, so they simply parked the car on the side of the road. The Phoenix Spring Mountain racetrack was too painful to drive. It was better to wait for Zhou Yun to bring people to rescue them. Seeing that the watch couldn't be given out, Jin Shirui was a generous person after all. She always felt that it didn't feel good to be in debt. She said, "The check hasn't been given out today and the watch hasn't been given out. We might as well ask Director Deng for Qin Guang's account number and directly transfer the money to him." Jiang Yage shook her head like a rattled drum. "I don't agree. Absolutely not. If we give him money like this, what reason can we use to find him in the future? A person's life is still very long. Shirui, why are you always in such a hurry to return his money?" Jin Shirui rolled her eyes at Jiang Yage but didn't say anything. She wasn't as blind as Jiang Yage. In fact, she could see that although Qin Guang pretended to be a man, he really needed money. Giving him money was said to return a favor, but it was more like sending charcoal in a snowstorm. Chapter 105. On the other hand, after hanging up on Jin Shirui's call, Qin Guang whistled as he drove back to school. He muttered to himself, "That's weird. Why do I feel like something's not right?" After another 10 seconds he vaguely realized something. Oh yeah, what brand was the watch that Jin Shirui mentioned? I didn't even hear her clearly before I rejected her. It seemed a little sloppy? Wait a minute. Let the old man calm down and recall carefully. If I'm not wrong, it seems to be Patek Philippe? This brand sounds familiar, as if I've seen it before. It sounds very high-end and classy. It doesn't seem to be cheap, right? Something's not right. Something's really not right. With the old man's limited knowledge of luxury goods, he could probably remember that this brand of watch was expensive. Most likely it really couldn't be cheap. Now I have to take a look. Thus, he decided to park his car by the roadside and use his phone to open up Jingxi Shopping Mall to see how much the watch was worth. A minute later, Qin Guang slapped himself hard in the face. I bought a watch last year. What the F***ck? I'm really a pig. In Jingxi Shopping Mall, the cheapest Patek Philippe men's watch cost 130,000. Would a national idol like Jin Shirui get someone to send her the cheapest model? Of course not. It's going to cost 590,000. What kind of F***ck is this? That much money is enough for me to buy a small apartment in Wujing City and live in it for the rest of my life. It's also enough for my mom's kidney transplant surgery. If I get this watch and sell it, even if it's at a 20% discount, it's at least 400,000 in cash. At that time, my ears were so deaf that I didn't even hear what she said and rejected her immediately. I didn't even understand the brand and told her, "Please don't give me any watches or I'll get angry with you." How stupid do I have to be to say something like that? I must have been a pig in my previous life, right? Sis, can I go back on my words now? At that moment, Qin Guang's heart felt like it was being trampled by 10,000 kodos. His heart was filled with bloody wounds. He held onto the car window with one hand and pinched his forehead with the other, sighing. The past cannot be recalled, life is full of tears. Don't talk to me, I want some peace. Don't ask me who peace is, it's not important. I should have F***king known that a celebrity like Jin Shirui wouldn't be like their manager. Zhou Yun could write a check, but Jin Shirui couldn't. This was because it would lower their statuses. At the same time, she had indeed saved her life. She decided to give me a gift to express her gratitude. Jiang Yage might be deliberately making trouble, but Jin Shirui's temperament was steady. It was impossible for her not to have considered it. Instead, she was really prepared for it, but she never said it. Then, with her status, it would be impossible for her to give a gift to her savior. It would definitely be worth a lot more than the check Zhou Yun gave her. Instead, it was a Patek Philippe men's watch that was worth a few $100,000. It was reasonable. It was already in my hands, but Qin Guang didn't want to look in the mirror. He felt that his intestines were definitely green. He just didn't know if the toxins had spread to his face. He guessed that the old man was about to transform into a green-faced fanged beast. If there is a next life, I will definitely be a sincere and frank person. I will definitely not play those hypocritical and fake pleasantries. I also need a set of imported hearing aids. This moment of carelessness had resulted in heavy losses. Forget it, now that things have come to this, even if I have to strangle myself to death, I can only admit defeat. Qin Guang put down the handbrake and prepared to slip away. At this moment his cell phone rang again. He turned his head and saw that it was another unknown number. Who is it? I still have a bunch of rich second-generation heirs chasing after me. Why are they calling me all the time? He subconsciously wanted to hang up the phone, but in a moment of inspiration, his right eyelid twitched wildly. In the end he changed his mind and answered the call. It was actually Jiang Yage's voice. Is this Jiang Yage's number? Brother Qingguang, I'm standing on the edge of the cliff of the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. Jiang Yage's words were shocking. The first sentence made Qingguang break out in a cold sweat. What is this crazy woman trying to do? Is she going to threaten me with jumping off the cliff because she can't catch me? How big is the hole in your brain? Or could it be that after the old man became the controller of the Holy Grail, the hidden attribute of charm was quietly adjusted to the maximum? What are you doing? Don't mess around. Under the shock, Qingguang spoke with a trembling voice. Jiang Yage covered her mouth and laughed. She was finally smart for once and roughly guessed Qingguang's thoughts. She almost wanted to go along with his train of thought, but after thinking about it, she gave up. If she really did that, she could force him back this time, but her image in his mind would definitely fall to the bottom and be irreparable. What are you thinking about? I'm not that stupid. What I want to tell you is another thing. Something is going to jump off the cliff, but it's not me. It's the Patek Philippe that Sister Shirue originally intended to give you. Jiang Yage's words carried a hint of pride. This was the right she had snatched after winning against Jean Shirue. This watch was bought by Sister Shirue, but you didn't give it away, so it belongs to me. I'll give it away. Giving the watch was a small matter. For Jiang Yage, the greater benefit was to use this watch to establish a relationship between them and Qingguang that they must meet again. Even if he ran away today, it was no problem. As long as he came back to get this watch sooner or later, they would definitely meet again. Jiang Yage was really afraid that Jean Shirue or Zhou Yun had transferred the money to Qingguang. Qingguang didn't understand what Jiang Yage wanted to express. She specially called to tell me that a watch was going to jump off the cliff? Wait. She seemed to have a hidden meaning in her words. Sure enough, Jiang Yage continued, I'll tell you the truth. This watch was originally specially bought for you. Now that you don't want it, it has no value. I dare to throw it off the cliff. You also know my and Sister Shirue's reputation. We are big shots in the country. Although hundreds of thousands is not a small amount, I am really willing to throw it away. Brother Qingguang, give me a definite answer. This watch, do you want it or not? If you say no, I'll throw it away immediately. After Jiang Yage finished speaking, she was so nervous that she held her breath. She was really afraid that Qingguang would refuse again. But she didn't expect that Qingguang on the other side of the phone was so happy that he went crazy. Oh my Guanyin Bodhisattva. The Guanyin Bodhisattva who saves people from suffering. Qingguang was instantly in tears. For the first time he felt that Jiang Yage could be so considerate. She actually threatened to throw it away to force me to accept this watch? You gave me such a good gold-plated staircase. If I don't go down the slope, I'll take out a flame burst and blast myself to death. Chapter 106. Qingguang forcefully suppressed his excitement and said in a reluctant tone, Don't throw it away. What a waste. There are so many children on the African continent who don't even have enough to eat. How can you face your conscience by throwing away hundreds of thousands? Don't do this in the future. Jiang Yage was embarrassed by Qingguang's words. She pouted and said, I'm not a wasteful person. Isn't this all because of you? Then when are you coming to get this watch? Today? Qingguang continued to suppress his emotions. I'm afraid I can't do it today. The cars of those guys are still behind. I'll leave it with you first. Don't worry, I'll definitely come back later to get it. Don't send it to me by express delivery. I'll feel uneasy. Jiang Yage rolled her eyes and thought to herself, do I need you to tell me that? All right then, it's a deal. As soon as the phone was hung up, Qingguang jumped up from the driver's seat in excitement. His head hit the roof of the car, causing him pain. He couldn't help but be excited. This amount of money might be a drop in the bucket for Jean and Jiang, but for Qingguang, it meant that even if his mother really had to undergo surgery, his father wouldn't have to sell the property. It was quite sad to think about it. A little bit of money from the fingers of the rich people on the left and right hands of the national idol could save the fate of a family like the Qin family. However, Qingguang wouldn't belittle himself or be jealous of anything. He looked at the Holy Grail Hello Kitty that was thrown on the passenger seat, and a confident and devilish smile appeared on his face. After all, I'm a person with a magical artifact. Don't worry, I'll slowly get what I need. Alright, I once told Jean Shirue that I don't have the habit of wearing a watch. Friends, people change, okay? Especially when I know that you might give me a watch that's worth hundreds of thousands. Not to mention one watch, even if you asked me to wear 3 watches on one hand, I wouldn't object. Damn it, the world of the rich is too scary. If you make a mistake you will lose a lot. It's really tiring to be friends with you. He stepped on the accelerator and the arena started moving again. Qin Guang was in a good mood as he prepared to leave. My day has been so King exciting. It's been full of ups and downs. The feeling of losing and regaining hundreds of thousands of dollars was simply too thrilling. The old man almost had a heart attack. Doctor, I want a caddy of tranquility pills. At that moment, the roar of engines finally came from the exit of the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. Qin Guang had been delayed by the roadside for so long, and these people had caught up. Grenade-throwing Liu. I've been on the phone for too long and forgot about this. Dodge. I couldn't take the asphalt road anymore. With the driving skills of the Blue R8's group, it would only take a few minutes for them to catch up to me. Qin Guang sped up without hesitation, turned the steering wheel and turned onto the dirt road on the side. He was also familiar with this road. He knew that if he kept going on this dirt road, he would reach the main road that led directly to the outskirts of Wenxing town. Seeing that he was about to run, Xiao Zhong and the others couldn't let him get away with it. They were all hot-headed and followed him down the main road. As a result, they saw a strange scene. On the country road, a silver Hyundai was in the lead, followed by a series of luxury sedans such as blue Audi R8, white BMW M3 and so on. After all, the difference in the performance of the cars was too big. Although the dirt road was bumpy, there were no sharp turns and Qin Guang couldn't drift. The distance between him and the cars behind him kept closing. CK. This can't go on. It looks like I'm really going to be caught up. Qin Guang was a little anxious. It was all because of Jin Zhang's call that he was delayed and distracted. Otherwise he would have disappeared a long time ago. The Audi R8's group didn't even know where he went. What a miscalculation. The old man still wasn't calm enough. He needed more training. Just as he was thinking about that, a loud noise came from behind him. Something happened. Qin Guang was a good person after all. When he heard that scary noise he thought that something big had happened. Without thinking too much, he slammed on the brakes and turned around to see what was going on. He opened his eyes and saw that something had indeed happened. There were fish ponds on both sides of the road that he had just passed. Qin Guang's Rena had a normal chassis so he drove straight on the bumpy dirt road. However, the cars chasing after him were all real sports cars. Even if he adjusted the chassis to the highest, it would still be difficult to handle. Especially Xiao Zhong, who was driving the Audi R8, had to turn left and right in order to avoid the obvious pits in the chassis. However, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to catch up with Qin Guang, so he didn't want to slow down. This time something happened. When he slammed the plate, the front wheel hit a rock and the car fell into the fish pond. When Qin Guang stopped the car and turned around, Xiao Zhong's car was already in the water, with only the rear of the car exposed. Qin Guang took out a baton from the toolbox in the front passenger seat, opened the door and ran back. On the other side, Xiao Zhong's friends had already stopped the car and opened the door. They stood by the side of the road, screaming in fear. They were all scared out of their wits and no one had any idea what to do. When someone saw Qin Guang coming over, he clamored and came over. CK. You bastard, how dare you come over? Do you want to die? Beat him up. Qin Guang slapped the idiot's face with the back of his hand. CK off. CK. Your friends are going to die. You still have the mood to dawdle with me? CK off. Qin Guang's sudden slap stunned the man, but he was woken up by Qin Guang's scolding. The situation was dire, and it was not the time to be entangled with the other party. Everyone turned their heads to look at the fish pond. Alright, at this time the R8's rear was nowhere to be seen. What should they do? What the CK should they do? Xiao Zhong's friends had completely turned into headless flies. Suddenly there was a loud splash from the other side. These people turned their heads, only to find that the guy who got out of the silver Hyundai had taken off his coat and plunged into the water. With Qin Guang's swimming ability, he easily swam to the spot where the Audi R8 had sunk. He slowed down a little on the surface of the water, raised his head and roared at the people on the shore who had lost their wits. Are all of you pigs? Where did all your food go? Call the police if you need to. Find a rope if you need to. Can't you do anything? Do you have a flashlight? A waterproof flashlight? Everyone shook their heads. CK. Then hurry up and do your own thing. I'm going down to save them. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Guang plunged into the water. Brother, life and death are decreed by fate. I just wanted your car to be stranded on this small dirt road, but I didn't want you to become a water ghost. The water quality of the fish pond was obviously not good, and visibility was extremely low. It was basically impossible to see anything below 1 or 2 meters underwater. Chen Guang paddled with his head down, and the water current caused by the R8 sinking interfered with his movement. After a lot of effort, he finally found the side of the R8 that was flipped over and sunk into the water. F***ck, the car's glass might have been deformed and there were cracks in it. If I'm not mistaken, the car is flooded. This guy is really unlucky. Chapter 107. After feeling around the car for a while, Qin Guang roughly found the window of the driver's seat. He pressed his hand on it and sure enough, there was a banging sound coming from inside. The guy in the car was trying to save himself. Unfortunately, this place was already more than 5 meters underwater, and the light was really dim. Even if Qin Guang put his face close to the car window, he couldn't see the situation inside at all. Qin Guang also tried to knock on the car window. The person inside suddenly became excited, and the frequency of knocking on the window increased significantly. Even the door handle began to vibrate. He was trying to open the door directly again. Under normal circumstances, if the driver and the car sank underwater together, the door should not be opened directly, because the strong current that suddenly rushed in the moment the door was opened could cause a huge impact on the human body, causing the people inside the car to directly faint and drown underwater. However, now that Qin Guang was outside the car, if he could directly open the door, it would not matter even if the person inside was flooded and fainted. Unfortunately, the guy seemed to have locked the door from the inside. Now that the car was flooded, the circuit system was damaged, and the difference in air pressure inside and outside the car formed water pressure. The door could not be opened. The person inside tried for a long time and found that it was useless. Qin Guang fumbled to the other side, grabbed the door handle with one hand, and with the baton in his right, he heavily hammered forward. Cracks appeared on the glass, but this was not enough. Qin Guang took the baton and hammered at the 4 corners of the car window. About 10 seconds later, the part of the car window that he was hammering had gradually deformed. There were dense spider webs all over, and the water also flowed in through the gap between the glass and the door frame. Qin Guang had a headache. This could not go on. He could not make the whole glass fall off and the person inside could not get out. How did this sports car's glass become so solid? The German friend really got what he paid for. He was too damn generous. At this time, Qin Guang's best option was to use his feet to kick. However, he was floating in the water and there was no place for him to use as support. If he really kicked like this, he did not know where he would be pushed to. Time was running out, and Qin Guang estimated that the car was about to be flooded. Qin Guang made up his mind. His left hand gripped the door handle tightly to stabilize his body, and his right hand held the baton as he pushed forward. However, it was inconvenient for him to exert his strength in this position. After 2 or 3 attempts, he was still unable to completely shake off the glass. Damn it. I'm going all out. Qin Guang stuffed the baton into his crotch, clenched his right hand into a fist and punched fiercely. Needless to say, after changing his posture, the force exerted became smoother. Dong, dong, dong. With 3 consecutive heavy punches, the power of the Enroyal's second officer was not just for show. Qin Guang's fist was covered in blood and lacerations from the broken glass. However, he had finally knocked down the damn German glass. Lifting the glass, a young man immediately rushed over to the seat. Grabbing onto Su Tao's clothes, Qin Guang pulled Su Tao out of the vehicle and twisted his body before he kicked the R8 and floated towards the surface of the water. Qin Guang was also thankful in his heart. He had seen the people on the R8 from the rearview mirror earlier. He knew that there was only one young man inside and there was no one else. He only needed to save one. That brat, Xiao Zhong, managed to escape from death and tightly clung onto Qin Guang. Although he knew how to swim, he felt dizzy at this moment with his heart throbbing like a drum. He wasn't injured, but he couldn't feel any strength in his body. When Qin Guang brought him to the surface of the water and saw that Xiao Zhong was safe and sound, the restless friends on the side of the road suddenly screamed in excitement. Qin Guang twisted his body uncomfortably. He felt slightly awkward. The old man was used to being the underwear Superman again. In this situation, if it was a cute girl hanging on me, I would definitely be very happy. But this was King guy. Are you guys done? If you are, come and pick him up. Qin Guang pushed Xiao Zhong to the shore. He spent a lot of effort to pull this grandson's hand away from his neck. You better control yourself. It's not like he's injured at all. Is there a need to be so scared? Keep your distance. Keep your distance. I'm not gay. If you keep acting like this, I will bury you in the water again. Damn it, let go. Finally, he let go of Xiao Zhong. Qin Guang touched his crotch. Damn, the powerful stick that could be long or short fell into the water. His heart ached. In this group, other than the young men, there were 3 to 5 girls. He didn't know if they were kept or if they were the daughters of the second generation. Most importantly, Qin Guang was still only wearing a pair of briefs, and it was the one with the hole in it that he wore in Painting Lake last time. Qin Guang didn't intend to go ashore in the same direction as these people. Instead, he swung his bloody right hand and swam forward. When he went into the water, he threw his clothes further away to keep his distance from these people. That girl who took a picture of my butt with her phone, do you believe that I will spit salt soda to death? After swimming for a while, Qin Guang turned around and glared fiercely at a girl who was taking a picture of him with her phone. Do you have a conscience? I worked so hard to save your friend's life, and you actually want to take a picture of me in my underwear and post it on Weibo. You make me feel like a prisoner on death row yelling at the executioner before going to the execution ground. Wait a minute, can I take a selfie and post it on Weibo first? Qin Guang's words made the girl turn her face away shyly. How embarrassing. He went ashore alone. While the group was busy cleaning up the drenched young man, they didn't notice him. Qin Guang grabbed his clothes and shoes. Wearing only his briefs, he ran towards the Rena car barefooted. When he felt that it was enough, he stopped to clean himself up. There was no way to dry his underwear. He could only wipe it on his body with his t-shirt and put on his pants. The wound on his right hand was still bleeding. Qin Guang sat on the ground, gritting his teeth to check if there were any glass shards inside. Then he wrapped his right hand with his t-shirt. He planned to leave. He did save them, but he wasn't sure if this group of idiots would bite the hand that fed them and push the blame for their failure onto him. After all, they did overturn their car because they were chasing him. The Audi R8 went into the water like this. It would cost at least 300,000 to 400,000 yuan. I can't afford it. Right at this moment, a person walked out from the crowd and walked towards Qin Guang. His steps were a little unsteady, and there were others that wanted to support him. However, they were all rejected by him. This person was Xiao Zhong, who had been saved by Qin Guang from the water earlier. Chapter 108. He didn't expect the kid to recover so quickly. Qin Guang frowned. Well, if it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. Let's see what he has to say. You want me to pay for it? No way. I don't have money. I want my life. I'll let you have a taste of my fist. If it didn't happen, I would have just played around. Since something had happened, I'll have to face the consequences. I can't be a coward. To be honest, he only wanted to race a little. He didn't expect things to get so serious that the car and people would end up in the water. But you were the one who drove it in. I didn't ask you to chase me. It was you who didn't know your limits. You were courting death. The old man saved your life. He's a saint. You have to give me a plaque later. Little Zhong looked at Qin Guang, who was standing next to the Rena, and then looked at the blood-stained t-shirt wrapped around his hand. His emotions were a little complicated. When he brought his brothers and sisters to chase after him, he didn't think too much. He just felt that he had been slapped in the face. When they reached the second half of the track, they were completely shocked by the godlike driving skills shown by the other party. There was no lack of masters in the underground racing world of Wujing City, but no one had ever driven a broken Rena to such an extent on this track. In the past, the other masters didn't give in to each other. Little Zhong himself was considered a little famous racer in Wujing City. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become the core of this group of people. But today he realized that he was a frog at the bottom of a well in the past. He was extremely ignorant and ridiculous. He was immersed in modifying the performance of the R8 and couldn't extricate himself. He thought that if the car was good, it would be good. Today's silver Hyundai had taught him a profound lesson. Judging from the speed increase, the other party had absolutely not made any modifications. But this person was able to completely play with the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. The car in that person's hands was no longer a car, but a living person. The Rena's car sped along the dangerous track as if it was a human running. It was as if it was a part of its body, and it was as smooth as a finger. Whether it was the thrilling drifting on the edge of the cliff when they first met, or the wonderful brushing of the edge when he made every turn, his control of the car had already exceeded the limits of Little Zhong's knowledge. This was the real god of racing. Little Zhong was a very fanatical racing enthusiast. In his mind, racing was a very sacred thing. He wasn't like his other companions who liked to put a girl in the front passenger seat so that they could pursue a different kind of excitement while racing. Xiao Zhong's co-driver's seat was never given to people who had nothing to do with racing. Therefore, after being shocked by Qin Guang's perfect driving skills again and again, an idea came to Xiao Zhong's mind. I want to become his disciple and learn the best driving skills from him. Therefore, even though he had clearly lost his target and could not even eat the dust, Xiao Zhong still rushed down the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. He was unwilling to let the god of racing leave just like that. Even though he knew that it was very stupid to rush on the dirt road with the chassis of his car, he did so without hesitation. However, he didn't expect to overturn the car and even rush into the water. After trying a few times and realizing that he couldn't open the door and the water kept pouring in, Xiao Zhong thought that he was dead. At that moment, a savior descended from the sky and saved him from death. Before he surfaced, his mind was in a daze. He thought that the person who saved him was one of his buddies. After calming down a little and hearing from others, he realized that it was actually the driver of the arena, the god of racing in his heart, who had personally saved his life. Xiao Zhong's mood could no longer calm down. As soon as he calmed down and could barely move, he gritted his teeth and got up from the ground, walking towards Qin Guang. He approached Qin Guang step by step, and the group of people behind him also approached slowly. Looking at that fellow with his guard up, Qin Guang felt that he was truly unlucky. Even if he managed to save that fellow, he would still have to fight with them. How vexing. He had no choice but to save that fellow. According to the normal development of the situation with the nature of these rich young masters, they would definitely be, "Bastard. You made me overturn my car. Think about how you're going to compensate me. Kid, do you know who my father is? Blah blah. Say it yourself. My car needs at least 400,000 to 500,000 to repair. It's not too much to exchange for one of your legs, right? Left leg or right leg? Come on." Qin Guang clenched his fists tightly. The blood on his right t-shirt slowly spread, turning even redder. A murderous aura was brewing in his body. Qin Guang was, after all, the second officer of the En Royal. He had seen the world. Although he had a murderous aura, his heart was as calm as still water. He slowly adjusted his breathing and calculated. There were 7 young men on the other side. With his current strength, it would not be difficult to take them down. Since there was a grudge, then so be it. At worst, he would just have to deal with it. Just as he was brewing his aura to the peak and was about to take the initiative to strike first, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Wait a minute. Qin Guang's pupils shrank. There was something wrong with the look in the eyes of this friend who was walking in front. Qin Guang was frightened by the look in Xiao Zhong's eyes. He felt that this guy was even scarier than Jiang Yage. F***ck, why did I compare this grandson to Jiang Yage? A man and a woman. They were two different things. Could it be that my body is too perfect that even men can't resist my charm? At this moment, Xiao Zhong suddenly sped up. Qin Guang was shocked and retreated. Grandson. What are you doing? Go away. Xiao Zhong sped up again and rushed in front of Qin Guang. He actually knelt on one knee. Qin Guang felt the world was spinning. It was as if the end of the world had come. Oh my god. The person I saved just now was really a gay man. I was only wearing my underwear and was hugged by a gay man. Now this gay man is going to propose to me. My outlook on life has been shaken. I'm so confused. Why is it like this? This is completely different from what I imagined. In the past, you swaggered around in front of me. Now, you have become a gay man because of my handsomeness. That's right, handsomeness is a verb. Dad. Your son has let you down. He looks like he's quite rich. Just as Qin Guang was lost in his thoughts, Xiao Zhong raised his hands again and reached for Qin Guang's injured right hand. **ck, this grandson still has a proposal ring on him, right? Are you going to take out the ring to propose to me? But my right hand is wrapped in my t-shirt and the wound on my ring finger is quite deep. Countless thoughts flashed through Qin Guang's mind. But in the end he stopped at one. Forget it. Our family is so short of money now. If I really have to sacrifice my body to help my dad through this, I'll just grit my teeth and close my eyes to get through it. A real man is not afraid of a rough fate. Chapter 109. With a resolute determination, Qin Guang slowly lowered his head and looked at Xiao Zhong's hands. There's no ring? Then what are you doing kneeling in front of me like a marriage proposal? What a waste of my expression. This is too much. He let out a long breath and felt a little disappointed. Why am I disappointed? On the other side, Xiao Zhong's hands finally touched Qin Guang's fists. Looking at his blood-soaked t-shirt, his eyes showed a hint of heartache. He looked up and down for a moment and thought to himself, what a waste of God's gift. This is the God's hand that God gave to the racing god. But he knew that it was this pair of hands that controlled the old arena and made it look like a god. If I let him drive my R8, I really don't know what kind of terrifying brilliance he would have produced. Brother, looking at your eyes, you must have starved for at least 7 or 8 days to be able to make dongpo pork knuckle, right? Chen Guang really couldn't stand this guy's overly meaningful gaze. He hid his hands behind his back and said, "Hey, what are you doing? Although I was the one who led you to the car, you fell into the water. But this has nothing to do with me, right? It's your own bad skill, not me, who let you continue driving. Besides, didn't I just rescue you from there? We don't owe each other anything. Don't go overboard and pester me." He didn't have any experience interacting with a second-generation rich kid, and he couldn't figure out the current situation. Chen Guang was also purposely acting in an evil manner. He wanted to bring out his aura first, but he didn't want to lose out even if he lost. There were still people around who didn't understand the situation. Hearing Chen Guang's fierce tone, they put on a straight face and wanted to surround him. Xiao Zhong stood up abruptly and shouted, "Stop! What are you doing? The racing god just saved my life. If anyone dares to be rude to the racing god again, I'll King kill that person." Little Zhong's sudden outburst gave everyone a fright. Chen Guang was not much better. Oh my god, the old man was really meticulous. This young man was deeply shocked by the old man's godlike driving skills. Turning danger into safety, turning an enemy into a friend, it's settled. You're really something. Even if I drive well, you don't have to act like that just now. You scared me to death. I thought you liked me. After Little Zhong's outburst had silenced his companions, he immediately turned around and bowed deeply to Chen Guang. "Thank you, racing god, for saving my life. My name is Zhong Bai, and these are my brothers and sisters. They were worried that I would get hurt, so they were a little impatient. Please forgive them, racing god." Chen Guang waved his hand. All right. It's good that you're fine. Let's not talk about saving my life. I'm quite embarrassed. Speaking of today's incident, it's also my fault. I shouldn't have scared you guys on purpose. At that time, I was just too excited and couldn't control my emotions. Fortunately, although it's a pity that the car crashed, fortunately you're fine. After the incident, Chen Guang's attitude immediately became very kind. Especially when he thought about how the current situation was developing. These people in front of him were likely to be the first batch of students in his future racing god training class. His eyes were like a kind elder's. Zhong Bai nodded and immediately looked at Chen Guang's hand again. This bastard's heart was aching again. "Racing god. Sai, your hand. It's all my fault. I'm too bad. No matter what, I shouldn't have rushed into the water. I'm not injured at all, and I've bought waiting insurance for my car. It's not a big deal. Instead, it's your hand that got hurt." Chen Guang waved his hand carelessly. "It doesn't matter. It's just a small injury." Thinking back, old man. "Oh no, I mean when I was a pirate, I fought with people for many years. I've suffered injuries that were many times worse than this." Chen Guang was so proud that he spilled the beans about what happened in the transient sea. There was no other way. He was happy. Everyone standing here was money. Chen Guang's serious manner of talking nonsense was really unacceptable to Zhong Bai and the others. What a fucking racing god. When he was racing, he was like a god descending to earth. When he went into the water to save people, he was also so domineering and cool. How did he turn into a clown in the blink of an eye? Beside Zhong Bai, a girl wearing a tight leather jacket and shorts couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Then she completely lost control. She held her stomach and squatted down. Pointing at Chen Guang, she laughed. I can't take it anymore. I'm still going to be the woman of the pirate king. My name is Mingqi Lufei." Chen Guang also knew that he was bragging too much. He hurriedly hinted to himself to keep it. Quickly keep it. These are the sponsors of the old man's racing god training class. I must protect the old man's noble, mysterious and elegant image in front of them. I can't let them find out that I'm a clown. While thinking about this, Chen Guang turned to look at the woman who was laughing at him. It's you. The one who took a picture of my ass with her phone." Zhong Bai also felt that the girl's attitude was a bit disrespectful to the racing god. He desperately coughed, hinting to her to quickly keep her magical power. The girl held it in for a long time. Then she stood up with a red face and said, "Zhong Bai, you can't blame me. You also know my name." It's completely related to what he just said. Chen Guang then noticed that the old man's recent mental state was not good. "I only noticed it after such a beautiful girl hanging around for so long. I'm blind." The leather-clad woman was about 1.67 meters tall. She wore a thin brown leather jacket that only reached her shoulders. She wore tight riding pants that accentuated her entire figure. She had a curvaceous figure, a wasp-like waist and a large butt. However, a good figure was not really good. The woman had shoulder-length hair and a little bit of baby fat on her oval face. However, this didn't ruin her overall beauty. Instead, it made her face more harmonious and round. On her lightly powdered face, her eyes were bright and full of expression, and her high nose bridge made her look like a mixed-race person. At this moment she was holding back her smile, and her curved lips made her look cute and playful. As Qin Guang compared her to the women he knew in his heart, he came to a conclusion that this woman was actually on the same level as the two national idols on his left and right. She was not inferior to Wenwen, another full-score goddess. Unfortunately, she was a racing girl. She was not the same kind of person as the old man. No, wasn't the old man the racing god today? On the other side, Zhongbai saw that Qin Guang was silent for a long time. He thought he was angry, so he quickly came forward to explain, "Senior racing god, don't be angry with Lu Fei. She's like this. She uses her surname. She's like a spoiled young lady. She's very rude. We can't do anything about her." Lu Fei, Qin Guang's mouth twitched. Thinking about her name, she deserved to laugh like this. Chapter 110. Hey, Zhongbai, I don't like what you just said. What do you mean by rude? What do you mean by bossy temper? Lu Fei glared at him angrily and stepped on Zhongbai's foot. Qin Guang rolled his eyes. Yes, you really don't have a bossy temper. But soon he saw another side of Lu Fei. Their relationship was completely reconciled. Lu Fei took out a medicine box from her car and personally disinfected and bandaged Qin Guang's wound. Lu Fei frowned and said, "Zhongbai, you really have to thank Brother Racer God. The glass of your aid is so sturdy. Brother Racer God really used his fist to smash the glass to save you. Oh my God, look at this wound, it's almost to the bone." Zhongbai's eyes were filled with tears. Lu Fei frowned and said, "Zhongbai, you really have to thank Brother Racer God." Zhongbai nodded. "It's all my fault. It's all my fault." Qin Guang said, "If you don't see it, there will be another result." Everyone was speechless. Lu Fei poured alcohol on Qin Guang's hand. "If you didn't sing Huazai's songs, we could still be friends." "Well, from now on we are good friends." Qin Guang immediately agreed. Full marks goddess. Qin Guang's easygoing attitude completely changed the view of these rich second generations who were shocked by his driving skills and then shocked by his domineering way of saving people. Although Qin Guang was still riding on that tattered Rena, he was still Tang Xing riding on a donkey. Regardless of how tattered his mount was, it couldn't change the lofty position that Qin Guang had in the hearts of these underground racers. Although Lu Fei was not a professional nurse, it seemed that she had deliberately learned wound treatment techniques. Her flexible and slender fingers flew up and down beside Qin Guang's right hand, and the two of them had intimate contact from time to time. At this time, a normal person would definitely be excited by the touch of the goddess's white and delicate skin, but Qin Guang only wanted to say, "Damn, this woman is even crazier than me when driving. Her fingers have calluses. Director. Her hand had barbs." Zhongbai and the others accompanied Qin Guang and chatted with him. Qin Guang, on the other hand, got to know these people one by one and chatted with them. Just as he had expected, most of these young men were either this director, that director, or some young master of some family. Among the girls they might talk about famous models, new actors and singers, but in reality Qin Guang was also a man. Although he didn't understand the world of the rich second generation, he had a tacit understanding. Only Lu Fei was a little different. She said that her family owned a chemical factory and didn't talk about anything else. Of course, Qin Guang could see at a glance that she was different from other girls. At least, even Zhongbai was sometimes afraid of her. When Lu Fei looked at other girls, there was always a lingering condescending look in her eyes. However, she was warm enough to Qin Guang. She followed Zhongbai and called him God of Racing. Even if Qin Guang said his name, it didn't matter. Qin Guang smoothly explained why he had taken the initiative to provoke Zhongbai, but Zhongbai was so ashamed that he couldn't lift his face. He could only apologize to Qin Guang again and again, explaining that he was just deliberately scaring him. After all, they were racing, but they didn't want to involve ordinary people in case of any accidents. Qin Guang didn't care anymore. If it was scaring, Zhongbai's fall into the water had scared him enough. They didn't know each other anymore. After chatting with everyone for a while, Zhongbai finally plucked up the courage to pull the topic to Qin Guang's driving skills. He looked at Qin Guang with admiration and said, "Brother God of Racing, can you tell me how you practiced your driving skills? You're really amazing." Qin Guang's eyes lit up. "I'm worth hundreds of thousands of yuan per minute. I've been accompanying you here for so long. Isn't this what I've been waiting for? It's finally here." Qin Guang turned his head, looked at Zhong Bai first and then looked around. Seeing that the others were also looking at him expectantly, he coughed lightly and said, "Well, I really can't explain it to you in a few words. It's simple but it's also complicated. Brother God of Racing, I have a presumptuous request. Can I learn how to drive from you? I want to worship you as my teacher. I want to learn too." Lu Fei, who was bandaging, also nodded. The others were also in a similar situation and followed. Qin Guang was proud in his heart, but he didn't show it on his face. He just looked around the crowd again, forcibly raising his sense of mystery, and took a deep breath. Brave young man. Oh no, guys, be more brothers. Oh, and Goddess Lu Fei, listen to me. Learn to race. Which one is stronger? Cave prostitutes looking for Qin Guang. Damn, when can this Chinibyu disease of mine be cured? Fortunately, I didn't say the last sentence. It's really not easy to be like me. It's very difficult, very difficult. It wasn't easy for Qin Guang to protect his mysteriousness as he slowly spoke, word by word. Finally, he managed to turn the atmosphere into a heavy one. Everyone's breathing gradually became tense. They were frightened by Qin Guang's incomparably serious expression. Zhong Bai gritted his teeth and said, "Brother God of Racing, do I need to have the determination to die? I'm not afraid of death. I just want to drive faster. Be as fast as you." Lu Fei also seemed to have made up her mind. Even the hand that was bandaging Qin Guang became more forceful. She also nodded heavily. "That's right. We pulled out the Phoenix Spring Mountain racetrack here. Those who don't understand will think that we are a group of non-mainstream people who have nothing better to do. Our families always use this to lecture us, but they don't understand and they don't understand. When the speed reaches the limit, that feeling of comfort that goes deep into the bones is really indescribable. At least, I want to be able to pursue the life I want more freely before I am married off and used as a bargaining chip. Brother God of Racing, teach us." "Okay. Since you all said so, I will definitely teach you. Absolutely not hold back." Although his driving skills were forcibly raised by the world within a cup, Qin Guang said that he didn't know how to teach others to be awesome, but this wasn't important. First, he had to swindle business. As for how to swindle and put it into practice, he just had to adapt to the situation. "This is my number. You guys remember it? Welcome to the Racing God training class. But currently, the training class is in preparation. If you guys can help me recruit a few more students, I will start the class immediately." "Huh? Start the class?" Zhong Bai, Lu Fei, and the others were dumbfounded. Qin Guang wondered, "Aren't you going to start the class? You have so many people here. Do I still have to train them one by one?" "That's fine. Start the class. I'll be the first to sign up." Zhong Bai clapped his hands and decided on this matter. Chapter 111. Qin Guang was thinking in his heart that if he only said that he wanted to teach them, wouldn't that make it a favor between friends? How could he accept money from them? Since it's a training class, wouldn't it be reasonable for him to pay for it? It's the training fees. Qin Guang looked as if he was in a difficult position. Zhong Bai decided again, "No problem. Brother Racing God, your skills are priceless. How can we learn for free? Just name a price." Qin Guang grinned and put up a finger. "One day. That's the price." He thought to himself, 10,000 a day. Even the average green tea girl wouldn't be able to get this price for a day. I'm only selling my skills and not my body. Zhong Bai clapped again. "Oh my God. Only 100,000 a day. Brother Racing God, you're too generous." Lu Fei also nodded. "That's right. All right. We know you're too embarrassed to accept our money. This price is like giving it to you for free. Then it's decided. One day. 100,000. What the heck? Our values are a little different." Qin Guang held it in for a long time. In the end, he resisted the urge to bend his finger and tell them that this was the cruel reality of Qi. He couldn't bring himself to do it. With 70% to 80% melancholy, Qin Guang said goodbye to everyone after Lu Fei was bandaged. They had nothing to do all day, but Qin Guang was a busy man. Today's day was really exciting. If I wrote this into a novel, I could brag about it for tens of thousands of words. But if I wrote tens of thousands of words in a day, I would most likely be scolded by the readers. But there was really no other way. I have no regrets in my life. It's just that colorful. If I had a choice, I would also like to lie in bed doing nothing and earn $1 million a month. Sigh, why did I only compete with one? Or should I be a little more shameless and say that it's 1 million and haggle with them? Why did I agree to it so readily? I really can't understand Zhong Bai and Lu Fei. Is racing really that fun? Is it so charming? 100,000 a day is considered cheap? Was there something wrong with this person's brain? Also, this kind of rich second generation was different from the ones written in novels. Wasn't it because I glanced at him while I was walking that he wanted to kill my entire family, steal my wife and daughter, and fight to the death? I even brought him into the fish pond, but because he admired my driving skills, not only did he not care about it, but he was also very respectful. I hurt my hand, but they are more distressed than I am. He almost made me into a statue of Guan Yu and put me on the wall. Lu Fei was the same. She was the daughter of a wealthy family, yet she actually knew how to bandage someone's wound? How could the daughter of a rich family learn such a considerate thing? Oh, there's no bow on my hand, no bow. Holy shit. When did this big sister tie a bow on my bandage? In short, Qin Guang felt that it was very unreasonable and unscientific for a second-generation nouveau riche to have such a lofty personality. He hadn't interacted with anyone in this circle. In fact, he didn't understand that the people who mingled in the underground racing circle were mostly young people whose families weren't lacking in money at all. For these people who were born with a silver spoon in their mouths, money really wasn't that important. They bought cars, modified cars, and spent hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, but never felt a heartache. Even to the extent that in order to race more freely, they pooled their money together to create the Fengquan Mountain racetrack as their paradise. When life had become pure consumption, when money had become a boring number that was transferred from their parents' generation every month, they only wanted to spend the money where they were satisfied. As long as they felt that the money was well spent, and that they could afford it, they would not hesitate to take it out. They called it a fever. A top racer sincerely accepted an apprentice, and the apprenticeship fee was far more than a few $100,000. Zhong by himself was an expert in Wujing City's underground racing circle. In recent years there weren't many people who could convince him. There weren't more than 5 people who could convince him wholeheartedly in the entire Wujing City. To be able to make him feel as if he was a celestial being, he wished he could kneel down and call him a god. There was only one. That was Qin Guang. Today, even if Qin Guang really offered a sky-high price of $1 million, Zhong Bai wouldn't refuse. Of course he wouldn't bear the cost alone. In the end he agreed with Qin Guang's offer, but he didn't take the initiative to raise it. In fact, he felt that when a person had reached a godlike level in a certain skill, he must have his own principles. He only asked for a mere 100,000. It must be as Lu Fei said. It was nothing more than a friendly price. If I raised the price again, wouldn't it make the racing god look down on me? It would make him feel that I was tarnishing his godlike skill with money? The ignorant were the most pitiful. If Qin Guang knew the truth, who knew how many liters of tears he would shed? Another local tyrant who was afraid of tarnishing him with money. Ah, what a painful realization. On the other side, Qin Guang looked at his watch and found that it was almost 6 o'clock in the afternoon. He thought to himself, it's time to go back to school to receive guidance from Teacher Zhua. I stood Teacher Zhua up and ruined the school sports. Will she hang me up on a tree and beat me when I go back? Isn't this a bit of a shameful play? My hand? This must have been predestined by the heavens, right? My hand is injured like this. It's normal that I can't go into the water. This is simply a natural excuse without any preservatives. Maybe Teacher Zhua will show more concern for me when she sees me injured so badly. Qin Guang couldn't help but think of Zhua Jingxi's mature and charming appearance. He then thought of her sitting in front of him, bending down to carefully examine the wound on his hand. He frowned slightly, his face full of heartache. Then, from her neckline he could, just thinking about it made him a little excited. Click. Suddenly his car stopped and the engine stopped. He opened the door and got out of the car. The front of the engine was smoking. Qin Guang hurriedly opened the trunk and took out a fire extinguisher. He opened the engine cover and planned to spray it in. But when he looked again, there was no fire. There was no fire, but the inside of the engine cover was full of black smoke. There were even sparks in some places. Whatever, I'll spray it first. He picked up the fire extinguisher and sprayed it in. He didn't know how long it took, but finally there was no smoke at all. Qin Guang opened his eyes wide and looked inside again. Tragic. This is really tragic. This car didn't even make it halfway before it blew up. Thank God. I've been driving a magically modified Alto for a long time. How could I forget about this? How could my poor little broken Rena endure such torment? I'm afraid I've used up all my strength to last until now. Why am I so capable? If it weren't for the racing god training class, Qin Guang would definitely be stomping his feet in regret. Chapter 112. Squatting on the side of the road, he felt an indescribable pain in the ass. He was still on a dirt road and there were no villages or shops around. The engine was burnt, and the rest of the powertrain was probably gone. Fine, I'll call for a tow truck. In this desolate place, the towing fee will cost a few hundred RMB. I'll call that insurance company. Didn't they say that they towed cars around Wujing 24 hours a day? It seems like only 300 renminbi? My heart hurts too. Forget it, I'll give up. After the call, Qin looked at the car up and down again. The four wheels were full of burrs. Looking closely, they seemed to be one size smaller than normal wheels, and the anti-skid tread was almost worn out. His heart was stuffed and the wheels had to be changed. After waiting for a while, the insurance company was still on the way. Qin phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was his best friend who had lent the car to him, the adorable Zhu Jifa. Strange, why did he call me? What a coincidence. Did he have telepathy with his broken car? He sensed that his broken car was halfway into the Yellow Springs Road. Hello? Where the hell are you? Why did the insurance company call me just now and say that my car broke down and needs to be towed? Zhu Jifa opened his mouth and revealed the truth. Qin mouth twitched. Damn, he had forgotten about this. He was the owner of the car, and the insurance company had registered his number. They must have called him to ask him, the owner of the car. Qin chuckled as he replied, "Oh my, why did you have to be alarmed by such a small matter? I'm in Fengquan County and I took a guest to the village here. In the end, the car ran out of gas." *CK. It really ran out of gas? How could Zhu Jifa not understand Qin? From his tone, he knew that things were not that simple. Qin could not admit that he had used this car to race the entire Fengquan Mountain racetrack. He was determined not to admit it. Of course, it's just that it ran out of gas. Otherwise, do you think it's a big deal? Little piggy, hurry up and get busy with your big business. Don't worry about my little mess. On the other side of the phone, Zhu Jifa's face darkened. He covered the receiver with his hand and turned to the little beautiful secretary next to him. Go out and inform them that the meeting will be postponed for 15 minutes. I have something urgent here. After the beautiful secretary closed the office door, Zhu Jifa took a deep breath and roared into the phone. Qin, why don't you take 5 pictures of my car for me? Send it to me. Everything. No blind spots. Don't play dumb with me. Your ability to lie is useless in front of me. Ever since I was young, as long as you stuck out your chrysanthemum, I would know that you were going to have diarrhea. Quick and agile. Stop dilly-dallying. Immediately. Now. Even through the phone, Qin knew that Zhu Jifa was in his father's small rundown factory. He felt like countless spittle was spurting out of the phone. Well, I can't hide it anymore. I'll hang up and take a picture. He didn't need to take any other pictures. He took one of the engine compartment and sent it to Zhu Jifa via WeChat. 10 seconds later, Zhu Jifa called again. He was actually not angry anymore. Are you all right? Qin acknowledged, it's fine. It's just that as I was opening it, it started to emit smoke. I don't know why either. I'm not afraid that you'll feel bad for your car. That's why I only said that it ran out of gas. Zhu Jifa grunted. All right, as long as you're fine. Look at how rotten it is. It'll probably cost 10 or 20,000 yuan to fix. I might as well not fix it. I've changed my car. Can you take my miting? Qin shook his head. No, don't. I don't need to rent a miting with that kind of gas consumption. I've lost so much money. I'll just use this car. Just fix it. Then I'll transfer the money to you. My car broke down on its own. I'll pay for it. Don't worry about it. This kind of bad method can't be insured. Anyway, don't panic. Zhu Jifa hung up the phone. Another 20 seconds passed. A notification came from the PayPal app. Zhu Jifa has transferred 20,000 RMB to you. This bastard is afraid that I don't have the money. Qin face darkened. He's looking down on me. In a few days I'll be a driving god who earns 10,000 yuan a day. I won't accept this. He called again. It was Zhu Jifa's pretty secretary who picked up. Brother Qin? COFA is in a meeting. I'm afraid he won't be able to handle it for a while. He told you to save it. Oh, that's what COFA told me to tell you. He said that he'll send someone to send your parents to Wujing City in a few days. When the time comes, you'll have to go to the hospital. You better hurry up and fix the car. Don't dawdle. Don't waste any more time about the money. Qin hung up. He pouted. COFA? Where's the bristles? When Qin finally returned to school, it was already past 8 in the evening. The car wouldn't be coming back today. Tomorrow was also out of the question. He wanted to listen to Teacher Zhuo's teachings. It was already late. Teacher Zhuo must have her own nightlife. Tomorrow. After wrapping the Hello Kitty Holy Grail in his clothes, Qin Guang shrunk his neck and scurried into the dormitory. He had been going up and down the stairs like this for the past few days. He was afraid that someone would see the pink cup cover. When Qin Guang entered the room, the three people in the dormitory saw the bandaged wound on his hand. They immediately exploded. Brother Guang, where did you run off to today? Didn't class rep's son come back a long time ago? Teacher Zhua and a lot of people in our class waited for you at the swimming pool for a long time. They didn't see you. You didn't see Teacher Zhua's expression at that time. It was like a frosted eggplant. You're dead meat in tomorrow's geometry class. What's wrong with your hand? Bai Nyangzi's reaction was the fastest. When Qin Guang entered the door, he kept yelling non-stop. Then he saw the bandage on Qin Guang's hand and screamed at the top of his lungs. On the other side, Lin Jingwei, who was lying on the computer and controlling the will-o-wisp, also threw down the mouse and stood up. He frowned and looked at Qin Guang's hand. You didn't come to the competition today. Did you injure your hand outside? What the hell is going on? Xiong Jinka, this guy actually took out the spring stick he used to train his arm strength from the closet. He grabbed Qin Guang's right hand. Brother Guang, who did this? Tell me. I'll beat the shit out of you. Qin Guang said, it's just a minor injury. If you pinch it a little longer, I'll have to have my arm amputated. After spending a lot of effort to explain, Qin Guang only said that he acted bravely today and saved a young man who was driving a car into the river. His hand was scratched by the glass when he was saving the young man. It wasn't a serious injury and it would heal after a while. Only then did he let the three of them settle down. Speaking of which, when did Brother Guang become the living Lei Feng of the new era? You save people every 2 or 3 days. Are you going to become Detective Conan's nemesis one day? Bai Nyangzi rolled his eyes and said half jokingly and half seriously. Qin Guang was puzzled. How am I related to Detective Conan? I'm not a detective. I'm not a murderer. Bai Nyangzi chuckled. You don't understand. Wherever Detective Conan goes, people die. Wherever you go, people don't die. If you and Detective Conan are in the same room, will the collision of your telekinesis create a black hole? Come on, with my virtue, if I dare to share a room with Detective Conan, I'll die before I can save him. Qin Guang was hit by Bai Nyangzi's imagination. On the other side, Lin Jingwei, who had already pounced on the computer, suddenly said, Brother Guang, I don't know what will happen if you and Detective Conan are together. But tomorrow you better call Teacher Zhua and explain it to him. Because today, all the events in our class's school sports meet were destroyed. You are the last straw to save our lives. In the end, you flew away with the pigeons. Your reason for asking for leave is so insincere. You even tried to hide the fact that you saved someone. Bai Nyangzi didn't say anything just now. Anyway, Teacher Zhua is very angry and you are in a very dangerous situation. *CK, why are you guys making it sound so scary? I'm panicking. Why don't I take off the bandage tomorrow and squeeze some blood out to add some special effects? Why don't I go to see Teacher Zhua with a bloody hand? But why did the whole class get destroyed? There's no reason. Qin Guang felt strange. No way? So miserable? Completely destroyed? What event did Xiong apply for? With his physical fitness, he shouldn't even be able to pass the preliminaries, right? Qin Guang didn't notice that when he asked this, Xiong quickly put on his headphones. Lin Jingwei said with a straight face, Orienteering. Qin Guang was even more confused. Isn't orienteering still an off-road? It's nothing more than another map holding a compass and running according to the map. Xiong has no problem. Lin Jingwei said seriously, the competition venue is in the town's wetland park. Xiong got lost. We looked for him for more than 3 hours before we found him next to the fish pond in the neighboring town. When he was about to fall asleep, Qin Guang felt his stomach hurt. Xiong orienteering had caused 10,000 damage to his abdominal muscles. Before he fell asleep, he finally thought of tomorrow's matter. Sai, don't get eaten alive by Teacher Zhua, right? Oh, I seem to have forgotten something. Didn't we agree to bring those 3 grandsons to the set? Don't care about those details. Brother's life is long. Everything has to look forward. Let the past go with the wind. Chapter 113. Early the next morning when Qin Guang woke up, the first thing he did was hide the cup in his pocket and sneak outside. That's right, his package had finally arrived. It was the cup cover he had carefully chosen online, the Holy Grail and Emperor of the Azure's new equipment, the Batman mug cover. The Hello Kitty cup cover was too cool. Qin Guang was worried that his life would be ruined by this cup cover, so he had to change quickly. Like a wisp of smoke, Qin Guang ran to the school's delivery room and rummaged through the mountain of strange goods for his bag. After that, Qin Guang ran to a corner of the school field like a thief and took out a cup from his clothes, intending to change the clothes for the colored glaze emperor. If you dare to peel off this old lady's outer layer of skin, this old lady promises that next time, I will crush every inch of your bones into dregs. If you ask me to help you with anything else in the future, don't even think that I will agree. Just as Qin Guang was about to happily lay down on the Hello Kitty cup cover, Lioli's voice suddenly rang out in his head. His hand froze. What? Why is this happening? How much do you love the color pink? The new one I bought looks even better. Emperor of the Azure chuckled. You're really forgetful. Have you forgotten what I helped you with yesterday and what state I'm in right now? Anyway, you're on your own now. That's all I have to say. With that, Emperor of the Azure really didn't say anything else. Qin Guang looked at the little pink cup in his left hand, then at the cool and domineering Batman cup cover on his right. He couldn't use it, so he sighed and felt sorry for himself. Why is it that I'm always the one getting hurt? So I forget it. I'll just endure it. The bitter days will come to an end sooner or later. I'll wait for the day when the bitter days are over and the sweet days come. I don't believe that you, Emperor of the Azure, can run around naked for the rest of your life for me to see. He returned to the cafeteria and was awkwardly eating breakfast when the second tribulation of the day suddenly came. It was a call from Zhuo Jingxi. Sure enough, it was as Sun Xiaoxuan and Bai Nyangzi had said. The newly appointed counselor was indeed in a bad mood. Her voice gave off a feeling of overflowing killing intent. Qin Guang, are you in school now? Qin Guang's scalp went numb. He thought to himself, big sis, you're our school's counselor after all. If you have something to say, then say it nicely. Aren't you afraid of scaring your students? Frankly speaking, Qin Guang did not really like this new counselor. He always felt that this person was too addicted to being an official. How could there be someone like you who insisted on having the whole class sign up for the school sports? Alright, seeing that you're a beauty, I'll reluctantly repay you. If you want to achieve something, fine. Our whole class will go crazy with you and play with you. But it was agreed that the most important thing was to participate. Even if I have the strength to win the championship, I have the freedom to choose whether I want to go or not. Students are born free. Do I even need a reason to withdraw from the competition? Do I need to explain it to you? You're my counselor, not my mother. You're too bossy. Even if the whole class is eliminated because of my withdrawal, you have no right to vent your anger on me. Hello, Teacher Zhuo. I'm in school. I'm eating breakfast in the cafeteria. Are you looking for me? What happened yesterday isn't what you think. I'll give you a reasonable explanation. That's strange. I was clearly thinking very highly of Long Out Yen just now. Why did the scene suddenly change after I said that? My willpower is too weak, isn't it? No wonder I forced Lioli to practice. Zhuo Jingxi, who was on the other side of the phone, took another deep breath and said, then come to the school building after breakfast. I'll wait for you in the office. Your class doesn't have any classes this morning, right? No classes. I'll be there in 15 minutes. 10 minutes later, Qin Guang stood in the corner of the school building feeling a little conflicted. Should he remove the bandage or not? That was a problem. Lu Fei had applied medicine on it yesterday. According to the female pirate king, it would take at least 12 hours before he removed it. By then the wound should have almost scabbed. Even if he removed it, it wouldn't tear the wound and cause it to bleed again. It was still too early to remove it now. It might cause the wound that hadn't scabbed to open again, and he would have to apply medicine and disinfect it again. But if he didn't remove it, he would have to spend a lot of effort to explain it to Zhuo Jingxi, and she might not really believe him. After all, his entire hand was wrapped in bandages, and it looked very exaggerated. There was even a cute bow on it. God knew if Zhuo Jingxi, the official fanatic, would think that he deliberately made a fake bandage to fool her. I always try to figure out this counselor with the greatest evil intentions. The old man is such a person. Otherwise, how can I always turn misfortune into blessing and succeed in every endeavor? In addition, Qin Guang was still thinking about what measures he should take to make this counselor feel the greatest guilt toward him. Of course, Qin Guang didn't deliberately want to set him up. He always did things with a clear purpose. Now that this new counselor had taken office, it looked like she was going to be serious and clean up the academic atmosphere. Qin Guang, the tyrant of a generation, felt a lot of pressure. That's right. He was the man who was known as the king of truancy. If he didn't deal with the counselor, how could he sleep easy and skip classes? From time to time, he would have a sports car to earn money. The burden of the whole family was on him alone. Forget about my useless father who took a dead salary. I'm already the god of racing with a daily income of 100,000. Of course, skipping classes was an easy thing to get addicted to. So, for the second half of the semester and the happiness of his senior year, Qin Guang decided to turn himself into a monstrous flood and first put out the 3 fires of the new counselor. I'll make her feel like she owes me so that when she gets caught skipping classes in the future, she won't be used as a model. Remove it. Of course I have to remove it. And I have to remove it in front of her. Valiantly and energetically, Qin Guang charged into the school building. He held his head high and entered Zhuo Jingxi's office. When he entered, Zhuo Jingxi was lying on her desk, writing and drawing. Seeing Qin Guang come in, she put down her pen and stood up. Before she could speak, she saw the bandaged hand that Qin Guang had deliberately placed in front of his chest. She frowned. Qin Guang, what happened to your hand? Didn't Officer Wu ask me to assist in the investigation yesterday morning? It's about Pan Jiang drugging Sun Xiaoxuan. When I returned to school, didn't I see that it was only past 9 in the morning? The competition was in the afternoon. Teacher Zhuo, you know my family's special situation, right? So I thought that if I went out and ran for half a day, I could just come back half an hour before the competition started. But Qin Guang wanted to say something but stopped. He deliberately pretended to accidentally hurt his right hand and forced a smile on his face. Oh my, it hurts. Zhuo Jingxi's eyebrows furrowed even more. She thought to herself, student, I give you negative marks for this acting. But what? Zhuo Jingxi was patient and decided to continue to cooperate with Qin Guang's clumsy performance. But it was in the afternoon. I was planning to go back to school after I finished picking up the last customer. In the end, I encountered something at Fengquan Mountain. The situation at that time was so scary. A few young people were racing and I saw the R8 rush into the water. Teacher Zhuo, you know that I can swim, so I went into the water to save people. As you can see, my hand was injured from smashing the glass when I was saving people. But at least no one died and I saved them. As Qin Guang spoke, he stretched his hand forward. Chapter 114. Zhuo Jingxi couldn't help but smirk. She thought to herself, keep pretending, keep pretending. Let's see what else you can do. You really know how to boast. You even said the R8 crashed into the river. Why don't you just boast to the sky? It's true that you can swim, but your story is too unbelievable. I don't believe it. Yeah. Your hand is really badly injured. It's all wrapped up. Alright, the bandage from yesterday should be changed today, right? I happen to have a medicine box and medicine here. Come over, I'll change the bandage for you. As Zhuo Jingxi spoke, she suddenly turned around and opened her locker. She actually took out a medicine box from inside. She was determined to be a successful counselor. Of course, she would consider the possibility of accidental injuries in the class. She had prepared this medicine box a long time ago. She didn't expect to be able to take it out today and expose this troublesome student's tricks. Zhuo Jingxi felt a little proud. However, Qin Guang hid his hand behind his back. Teacher Zhuo, let's forget about it. I was injured yesterday afternoon. It hasn't even been 24 hours. If I remove the bandage now, the wound will open up. As he said this, Qin Guang thought to himself, I really don't know if I should be sad or happy. If I change my way of thinking, there's actually this special effect. She really fell for it. From the purposeful cry of pain at the beginning to the exultant bragging about how he saved the person, Qin Guang deliberately put on a clumsy performance so that Zhuo Jingxi wouldn't believe him. I didn't expect her to have a medicine box. Originally, I was worried that a normal trick wouldn't be strong enough. Now, I made her take the initiative to remove the bandages. When she sees me bleeding, the guilt in her heart will definitely be unbearable. Just ask me why I'm so slippery. When Zhuo Jingxi heard Qin Guang's words, she really didn't believe him. Give me your hand. Even if it's the bandage from yesterday, it should have been changed a long time ago. Otherwise, the wound will fester if it's covered for too long. Quick, give me your hand. But the wounds are very deep and the speed of scab formation is very slow. I really can't remove it before the time is right. Qin Guang continued to hide his hands bashfully, his face full of embarrassment. Zhuo Jingxi saw how stubborn he was, and she was completely convinced that Qin Guang was lying. She then recalled the tragic scene of the entire class being wiped out yesterday, and then looked at Qin Guang's shameless face. She thought to herself, why is this student so terrible? He doesn't even have a sense of collective honor. Yes, your family is in trouble. Do you have any trouble? Just tell me. If you drive for an extra hour or two, you can earn a few more bucks. As long as you can win the championship, I will personally reward you with 1,000 yuan. What's the meaning of standing the whole class up without saying a word? Do you know how awkward it was for me to wait there foolishly with dozens of people to cheer for you, but I didn't even see your shadow? You're just a selfish, vile man. Don't even think about getting away with it today. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got. Zhuo Jingxi finally couldn't hold it in anymore. She took a step forward, grabbed Qin Guang's right hand, and was about to pull off his bandage. *CK. If you pull it off like this, it won't be as simple as just bleeding. You're too much. Counselors should follow the basic rules even if they want to be unreasonable. During the last class, although this counselor was a little immature in public, he still performed decently. But today in private he became like this. You've really disappointed me as a student. Qin Guang was also furious. He pushed his left hand forward, not caring where it was. He just wanted to push Zhuo Jingxi away. Unexpectedly, Zhuo Jingxi let out a scream and took a few steps back with a red face. She covered her chest with one hand and looked like she was in pain. She widened her almond-shaped eyes and looked at Qin Guang with a rather complicated gaze. What happened just now? I only touched her lightly, and she suffered such a heavy injury? Could it be that I have unknowingly mastered the inner force that only second Uncle Wenwen has? Could it be that I'm a legendary martial arts genius? I can even master something as awesome as inner force without a teacher? That can't be right. If I remember correctly, second Uncle Wenwen had hit his inner force into my hand, which was why I killed him in one move. That's right, I must have been guided by second uncle's inner force and naturally understood the essence of inner force. It's just that this thing is mysterious after all. Before my inner force really exploded, I didn't feel it at all. I'm really a genius. I only got hit by second uncle who has inner force, and I already learned this terrifying supernatural power. Second uncle, you're really my benefactor. Although we're not teacher and student, we're actually teacher and student. Please allow me to call you master, in my heart. Qin Guang. How could you? Zhuo Jingxi finally spoke. She covered her chest with her hand and looked at Qin Guang with a face full of shame and anger. Qin Guang was suddenly pulled back to reality from his endless reverie. He turned his head to look at Zhuo Jingxi with a blank expression. Teacher Zhuo's expression didn't seem like she had suffered an internal injury. Her hand was protecting. Damn. Could it be that when I pushed against her chest just now, I pushed against her pectoralis major? What a coincidence. The god of wretchedness is looking after me. At this time, Zhuo Jingxi's chest was pushed against by Qin Guang's left palm. The position of a woman was actually very fragile, and it was very easy to be hurt. Not to mention that her chest was much larger than an ordinary woman's. Therefore she was embarrassed, resentful, and sore. Her tall body was slightly bent, and her fair face was flushed, making it even more conspicuous. A charming aura spread out from her body, sweeping over like the waves of the sea. Qin Guang looked at her a little longer and couldn't stand it anymore. But Qin Guang knew that the more it was at this time, the more he couldn't show an outstanding appearance. Otherwise it would be over for him today. The god of acting. Save me. I'll beat that god of wretchedness to death first. Fiercely gritting his teeth, Qin Guang didn't care about Zhuo Jingxi's current state. Instead, he slammed the table fiercely. Teacher Zhuo. Zhuo Jingxi's heart skipped a beat. This time she was dumbfounded. You're acting like a hooligan and you still dare to hit the table? Qin Guang didn't give her a chance to speak. Instead, he suddenly stretched out his right hand and placed it flat, while his left hand rested on the end of the bandage. Fine, if you want me to remove it, I'll remove it. Yes, it's time to change the bandage. Thanks for your hard work. As he spoke, Qin Guang quickly pulled the end of the bandage. However, when it was time to remove the bandage and remove the gauze, his movements were not violent. Just kidding, I'm not stupid. Acting is one thing, but I don't really want to play around. However, when Qin Guang was halfway through removing the bandage, he could already see the dried brownish red. Just now, when Zhuo Jingxi snatched Qin Guang's hand, she seemed to have really opened up the wound a little. Beside the dried blood, there really was a bright red that had just seeped out. Zhuo Jingxi's expression changed in an instant. He was really injured? He wasn't pretending? Chapter 115. Qin Guang. Don't unwrap it. It's too early. Zhuo Jingxi said and wanted to stop Qin Guang's hand. But at this time, Qin Guang finally summoned the god of acting. How could he stop just like that? Accept my justice. Have a taste of the long-lost ultimate skill of Jianghu, the secret spirit technique. Guilt kill. Qin Guang turned around and blocked Zhuo Jingxi behind him, but his hands didn't stop moving. He said, Teacher Zhuo, didn't you say it already? It's already past night and it's time to change the bandages. Thank you, I really thank you. It'll cost more to go to the school hospital. Just as Qin Guang had expected, Zhuo Jingxi was so embarrassed that her eyes widened. She was finally sure that Qin Guang wasn't lying, and that he really was injured in order to save someone. As a teacher, her heart was too dark and dirty. My mind was only thinking about the so-called collective sense of honor, and all I could think about was showing results in the school sports meet. In fact, it was just me being too impatient and wanting to earn a good performance as soon as possible. My impatience blinded my heart, and I actually doubted Qin Guang for no reason. Compared to him, I'm actually the real selfish and despicable person. I was crazy enough to try to tear off his bandages. Am I crazy? He must have been anxious just now and was afraid that I would tear his wound, so in a moment of desperation, he accidentally touched my chest. He didn't even notice it himself. Zhuo Jingxi thought this in her mind while trying to turn to Qin Guang to stop him. Of course, Qin Guang wouldn't let her have her way. Zhuo Jingxi circled around him, and he kept turning around as well, maintaining the heavily injured Teacher Zhuo behind him. He said, "Teacher Zhuo, I'm already halfway through dismantling it. I can't just tie it up again, right? Don't be like this. It'll really tear the wound," Zhuo Jingxi shouted. She wanted to reach out to grab Qin Guang's hand, but she was worried about his injuries and didn't dare to really grab him. She continued to circle around Qin Guang's back with all her might. "Teacher Zhuo, I'm your student. Of course, a student has to believe in a teacher. It's already scabbed, it's definitely healed." As he spoke, he had already removed the last layer of gauze. Needless to say, it really hurt when he pulled it like this. However, it didn't matter. The scar had already grown halfway. As long as he was careful when he tore it open and didn't tear it too much, he could disinfect it again and apply medicine again. It wouldn't affect the speed of recovery. Zhuo Jingxi, who was behind him, finally saw this scene from the side. She saw that he was really tearing open the last layer bit by bit. She could even see fresh blood oozing out from the wound. There was also a large, bright red scar. It was a ghastly sight. Zhuo Jingxi was scared out of her wits. Perhaps she was possessed, or perhaps she was overly guilty, causing her to completely lose her composure. She was anxious. She actually hugged Qin Guang's back from behind. She hugged him fiercely. "Qin Guang, Teacher Zhuo apologizes to you. I'm sorry. Don't pull it anymore, okay? Okay." On the other side, Qin Guang was carefully tearing open the last layer of gauze. He was also very nervous as he controlled his strength. He didn't want to pull too hard. He never would have thought that Teacher Zhuo actually had a lost secret technique. Ultra Shockwave Strike. Secret Freeze Strike. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't hold on anymore. My back. Heavy injuries. Feeling the pressure of the secret abundance on his back, it was like two huge mountains. The shockwave covered the sky and the earth, sweeping towards him. It was abnormally fierce. Zhuo Jingxi was tall and much more voluptuous than ordinary people. Being hugged from behind like this, the bouncy Miss Mountain almost sent him flying. That was not all. She even tried to stretch her hand from behind to the front to stop Qin Guang's left hand. This continuous movement made the shockwave even more like waves, wave after wave, wave after wave. For a moment, Qin Guang's entire body felt as if it had been electrocuted. He felt limp and numb. In the depths of his mind, a huge beast came out of its cage. His body suddenly stiffened and he couldn't control it at all. The old man's Qilin arm was completely out of control. Rip. His left hand also stiffened. Then his body suddenly pulled to the side. "This is bad. Grenade throwing Lu. Didn't you say to pull gently and slowly? Oh, my hand. F***CK, what a big cut. A bunch of cuts. Doctor. This time my injury has really worsened." Bang. 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 "Teacher Zhuo, why didn't you follow the script? You tricked me." This time, Qin Guang finally got what he asked for and courted death to the extreme. He really just wanted to use this opportunity to naturally ascend to the throne of the King of Truancy in the future, but he didn't expect that he would play it out of hand. He completely didn't expect that Zhuo Jingxi, as a teacher, would actually use such a despicable and shameless killer move in broad daylight. He threw himself forward and first broke free from Zhuo Jingxi's embrace. Then, with a sullen face, Qin Guang raised his right hand and turned around. He pouted and said, "Teacher Zhuo, see? I'm really hurt. Hurry up and stop the bleeding for me." Zhuo Jingxi looked at Qin Guang's hand and her face turned pale with fright. That bloody wound, that fresh red blood that kept coming out, had already flowed down Qin Guang's fingers and onto the ground. Every drop of blood that fell onto the ground was like a knife cutting into Zhuo Jingxi's heart. "I really don't deserve to be a teacher." Zhuo Jingxi was so remorseful that she almost wanted to die. Her eyes suddenly became hazy and tears flowed out. Qingguang, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Teacher Zhua has let you down. Slap me, I feel terrible in my heart. Qingguang rolled his eyes. Fine, today was really a day of bad luck. A man's blood, a woman's tears, the two great poisons of the world, were both alive. To be honest, I really didn't want to make you cry. Things really turned out this way. Man proposes, God disposes. It's just a coincidence. Teacher Zhua, don't cry. It's my hand that shook when I took it off. It's not your fault. Hurry up and help me stop the bleeding. Even if you want me to hit you, you have to rebandage it before I hit you. Otherwise, if I flung my hand like this, wouldn't the wall be covered in oil paintings? Qingguang said quickly. His current appearance only looked miserable. It hurt when he took off the bandage, but after the pain he didn't feel anything anymore. The blood on his hand looked scary, but the medicine that Lu Fei used yesterday was really not simple. The scab formation was better than expected. After that stream of blood, it slowly stopped bleeding. Old Master Qingguang was also someone who had gone through mountains of knives and seas of fire in the momentary sea. He had seen countless big scenes and had lost count of how many times his head had flown away. With just a little thought, he calmed down and hurriedly comforted Zhuo Jingxi. When Zhuo Jingxi heard this, she lifted her sleeves and wiped the tears from her eyes. Then she nodded heavily and said, "Yes. Quickly sit down, I'll help you bandage it and stop the bleeding." Chapter 116. Seeing Zhuo Jingxi busy herself around him with red eyes, Qingguang actually felt quite embarrassed. Today's performance had gone to such an extent that the situation was a bit out of control. He didn't know if this incident would cause any psychological trauma to Teacher Zhua. It was better to try to say something to remedy the situation, otherwise it would be too embarrassing. "Teacher Zhua," Qingguang called out softly. Zhuo Jingxi carefully applied medicine to the wound on his finger as she softly responded, "Aha, go ahead, I'm listening." Listening to her sweet and greasy voice, which still had a slight tremble after crying, Qingguang sucked in a breath of cold air. "Sis, you've changed so much that I can't take it anymore." "Teacher Zhua, don't blame yourself too much. My wand just looks scary." The group of youngsters who drove yesterday were second-generation rich kids. I don't know what kind of powerful medicine they gave me, but it's worth a lot of money. My recovery is better than I thought. I reckon that after you change the bandage this time, I won't need to be bandaged anymore after 3 to 5 days. Qingguang was speaking the truth. He had a lot of experience with wounds. Yes, he had trained in the sea of fleeting time. Zhuo Jingxi flirtatiously rolled her eyes at him. "Do you think your teacher doesn't feel guilty enough? Remember, if you change the bandage today, I'll change it for you after school tomorrow afternoon." Qingguang waved his left hand repeatedly. "No need really." Zhuo Jingxi didn't let him talk nonsense. Her hands didn't stop moving as she said, "If you really don't want Teacher Zhuo to die of guilt, then listen to me. Just treat it as you're doing a good deed, okay?" Qingguang sighed. He was a little touched. Zhuo Jingxi's guilt couldn't be faked. If she really was a despicable official addict, she wouldn't really feel guilty to this extent. Although she was a bit impatient and greedy for achievements, she was indeed a good person deep down. Qingguang couldn't help but feel a little curious. He didn't know why a person like her would be so eager to achieve something in her career, even going so far as to make her whole class sign up for the school sports meet, and do something so ridiculous that she cared so much about her own swimming competition. "Teacher Zhua, actually yesterday Qingguang wanted to tell the truth. Zhuo Jingxi waved her hand. "Don't talk about what happened yesterday anymore. The more you talk about it, the more upset I feel. In short, let bygones be bygones. I will also reflect on myself. Don't worry, I will definitely be like Teacher Shen and become a qualified counselor. I won't trouble you anymore. I'm your counselor, and I'm here to help you solve all the problems in your studies and life. What I did before was wrong." Qingguang's mouth was wide open. The truth couldn't come out. "Forget it, so be it. Actually, I'm quite regretful. I think that if I continued to participate in swimming competitions, our class would indeed have a champion. That brat Dong Tao wouldn't be my opponent. In the pool, I would only need 2 fingers to crush him. Next year I'll fight for a bunch of championships for you. I'll sign up for all the swimming events." Qingguang grinned. Zhuo Jingxi blushed and looked at him. "You're still making fun of me?" "No, I really didn't." Qingguang was very serious. "All right, I've wrapped it up. I've even restored the bow for you. The one who wrapped it for you yesterday must be a beautiful girl with nimble hands. My bow isn't as pretty as hers, and she wrapped it up better than me. Zhuo Jingxi stood up and rubbed her palms. She was a little dissatisfied with her own artwork. Qin Guang cursed in his heart. It was hard to say whether Lu Fei was nimble with her hands, but the power of the calluses on her hands was really not to be underestimated. Standing up, Qin Guang prepared to leave. Zhuo Jingxi said, "Wait a minute. There's something I have to tell you. I called you here today mainly for this matter. Yesterday's competition? Okay, it was also one of the main reasons, so I won't be so stubborn." Qin Guang asked curiously, what's the matter? Zhuo Jingxi was about to say it out loud when her office door was suddenly pushed open. A middle-aged fat man with a red face walked in from outside. Qin Guang recognized him. This fat man was the dean of the academy's discipline department, Wang Ren. Regarding this grandson, the rumors and stories in the entire academy added up could almost be written into a social realistic novel that was 1 to 200,000 words long. If it was not necessary, Qin Guang really did not want to see him. He did not expect to bump into him in Teacher Zhuo's office. "Xiao Zhuo, come to my office. I have something to tell you." Fatty Wang first scanned Zhuo Jingxi's office suspiciously. He stared at Qin Guang for a long time until he saw the medicine box on the table and the bandages on Qin Guang's hands. Only then did he show a look of relief and continued, "Xiao Zhuo, what's wrong with this student of yours? Did he get into a fight?" Qin Guang was about to open his mouth to scold this grandson. "You're the one who got into a fight. Your whole family got into a fight." However, Zhuo Jingxi suddenly blocked in front of him. She quietly stretched one hand behind her back and desperately gestured to Qin Guang. On her face, however, she squeezed out a smile for Fatty Wang. "Director Wang, my student acted bravely at the scene of the car accident yesterday and accidentally injured his hand. I just finished wrapping it up for him." Fatty Wang was just saying it casually. Hearing Zhuo Jingxi's explanation, although it was not very believable, he still had other plans today. There was no need to harp on this matter. He could only keep a straight face. "All right, I'll wait for you in my office." With that, he left. Zhuo Jingxi turned her head and glanced at Qin Guang. "I'm going to Director Wang's office. Wait for me for a few minutes. Don't bother with him. I'm afraid you guys know his reputation better than I do." Qin Guang sat on the metal chair in Zhuo Jingxi's office. "It's not that I want to brag to you, but don't be fooled by his fat appearance. If he dares to say another cheap word, I'll only need 10 seconds to beat him up." "What kind of bad temper is this? And you're still a student? If you continue like this, I'll call your parents." Zhuo Jingxi, who was about to open the door and leave, heard that and stomped back. Finally, she put on the airs of a teacher. She put her hands on her hips and spoke to Qin Guang in a condescending manner, spittle flying everywhere. On the other side, Fatty Wang started to rush her again. Zhuo Jingxi did not dare to delay. She only gave one more order and turned to leave. Qin Guang wiped his face. Fortunately, Teacher Zhuo's breath was fragrant. It was just that Fatty Wang. There was something fishy going on. This did not require a man's intuition. In such a big school, there were too many people who knew what kind of person Fatty Wang, this grandson, was. Qin Guang did not want to see him because he was afraid that he would not be able to control himself and want to beat him up. He did not brag to Zhuo Jingxi. Among the students in Qin Guang's batch, there were probably many who had the same idea as him. Once they got their graduation certificates, they would go and block Fatty Wang's way at night. Chapter 117. Everyone didn't hate Wang Ren, but they hated him. Regarding his past, it was one thing for Wang Ren to be a sharp and unkind person, always nitpicking. After all, in this world, there weren't many head of student affairs who were well liked by the students. This was simply a position that was born to be hated. But this was still not the most hated and reviled thing about Wang Ren. Qin Guang was certain that in the entire country, Wang Ren's hatred could be ranked in the top 3 of all the heads of student affairs. Rumor had it that he seemed to have some connections with the higher-ups of the school. Even though he didn't have any academic qualifications, he had entered the school many years ago and became an administrative staff, slowly climbing his way up to the position of the head of student affairs. In the student community, the deepest impression of Wang Ren wasn't his harshness, but his lust. From time to time, there would be rumors of him entering the school early in the morning with someone, or someone hooking up with him in a corner. Sometimes it was a young female teacher and sometimes it was a student. Other than that, this fellow also had a way of making money. In the past few years, there were others in his class who had given Wang Ren tens of thousands of yuan. Just in Qin Guang's class, there was more than one such person, not to mention the dozens of classes in the entire academy. His reason for asking for money was simple: but it was actually embarrassing. The head of student affairs was in charge of the final step in dealing with cheating in the entire academy. If he suppressed it, it would be an internal matter of the academy and it would be easy to deal with. Whether it was a demerit or a warning, it was all within the scope of control. When the time was up, or if it was related, the punishment could be removed in advance and no stain would be left. Other than the taboo method of cheating, such as substituting for an examiner, Wang Ren had the right to directly intervene. In his hands, the same incident of cheating could have a big or small impact, and the punishment could be light or heavy. Could even be nothing. However, once it was reported by him, even if it was just a finger-sized slip of paper during an examination, he could make it a serious violation of the rules and record a demerit. There was no clear standard for dealing with cheating in the first place. Even if you only brought a small slip of paper, Wang Ren could say that when you were caught red-handed, your attitude was extremely bad, you talked back to a teacher and you didn't repent. This was a heavy punishment. The black and white of the matter were in his mouth. Once the school's punishment was imposed, it wouldn't be easy to get rid of it. Even if the punishment could be removed, the school would still conduct an inspection process. Unfortunately, the inspection authority was still in Wang Ren's hands. As for changing exam papers, it was even more likely to result in immediate expulsion. But what was strange was that no matter how many people privately spread rumors about Wang Ren's dirty and scandalous deeds, there were even a number of people who sent anonymous reports to the school leader's mailbox. However, he was like a roly-poly doll, still standing tall in his position as the dean of the academy's student affairs department, happily using his relatives to support him, counting his money, sleeping with his or other people's women. He had too many things to deal with, but what really made Qin hate him so much was not the above, but the incident that happened in the academy last year. There was a girl from the countryside. Her family was very poor, but her grades were very good. She was also very motivated. Although she was not particularly beautiful, she belonged to the kind of cute and obedient type. She was quite popular in the academy. But later she seemed to have been caught helping someone cheat. She seemed to have been handing someone a note. After that, she did not receive any serious punishment, but she broke up with her boyfriend. The matter was quiet for a few days, until her boyfriend finally revealed the matter to the entire academy. This girl indeed had been slept with. She had not seen much of the world and was not calm enough. That night her boyfriend could not get through to her phone, and the next day he fiercely questioned her. She thought that the man she deeply loved would forgive her, and would understand her pain and difficulties. She admitted most of the matter, but firmly denied that it was Wang Ren who did it, because she was afraid that the boy would impulsively kill Wang Ren. She also remembered Wang Ren's words when he threatened her, and even tried to link the possibility to all the leaders she could think of. The girl hoped that her boyfriend would understand. Unfortunately, a man's dignity was not so easy to erase, and the two broke up at lightning speed. The depression in the boy's heart accumulated day by day, until he could not help but expose the matter on the school forum. In an instant the matter blew up. All the students in the school were discussing the matter. As the victim, no matter where she went, people would point fingers at her. Although the school reacted quickly and used the fastest speed to completely erase the matter from the school forum, it could not change the fact that the girl's reputation was completely ruined. Then the girl dropped out of school and returned home. Later, it seemed that the matter also spread in her hometown. After that, the girl drank an entire bottle of pesticide in her hometown and passed away. In the end, the boy was beaten up very badly. Many people felt that this guy had gone too far, and that he had to bear a lot of responsibility for the girl's death. From time to time, the boy in the academy and other academies would take turns to teach this bastard a lesson. Qin and the others had also beaten him up, and in the end the boy also dropped out of school. From the beginning to the end, the girl had never admitted that this matter had anything to do with Wang Ren, although everyone knew that the real murderer was most likely Wang Ren. However, the girl had chosen the weakest and most humiliating way to deal with the matter. She had even decisively ended her own life, bringing the final truth to the bottom of the earth. No one knew what kind of threat she had received, but to her, it seemed that revenge would not change her only choice, and that was death. No matter how suspicious people were, there was no evidence, so the matter was left unsettled. No matter how lively the matter was, it would eventually be erased by time. Wang Ren was still the same Wang Ren, still the arrogant head of the discipline department, but he seemed to be a little more restrained. Recently, he did not collect money, and there seemed to be no more rumors about him with any girls. Not many people knew about the story between him and the female teacher. As long as he did his job well, it would not be so easy for people to find out. The reason why Qingguang did not like Wang Ren so much was not because he had any feelings for the girl back then. He did not even say a word to the girl from the same academy. It was purely because he felt that it was unfair. However, in the end there was no evidence. Although Qingguang was unhappy, he still had his own life. Before he could manage the world, he had to manage himself first. It was what happened today that brought back Qingguang's fading memory of that scumbag Fatty Wang. Just now, before Zhuo Jingxi went out, she briefly showed a hazy expression, but it did not escape Qingguang's sharp and penetrating eyes. Could it be that after a year, this bastard had begun to rise from the ashes again? Was he starting to get cocky again? What did he want to talk to Teacher Zhuo about? Why did Teacher Zhuo have that kind of expression? Something was wrong. Just as he was worrying, after a few minutes, Zhuo Jingxi came back with a livid face. Her face was so dark that it could drip water, and it was extremely ugly. Qingguang's heart skipped a beat, and he could not help but ask, "Teacher Zhuo, what's wrong? What did Fatty Wang say?" Chapter 118. Zhuo Jingxi's face showed a look of distress. She opened her mouth to speak but stopped. Finally she shook her head. "It's nothing. Don't ask too much." Qingguang was even more suspicious. He thought to himself, "Sis, your acting skills are as bad as mine. If I'm fooled by you, then am I, Qingguang, still a normal person?" "Teacher Zhuo, didn't you just tell me that there was something else?" Qingguang knew that she probably wouldn't say it if he asked her directly, so he deliberately changed the topic. When she was caught off guard, it would definitely be effective. Zhuo Jingxi nodded. She picked up the cup on the desk and drank some water. She calmed down and said, "I almost forgot if you didn't mention it. It's like this. I know about your family's situation. For the past 6 months you've been a student, studying and earning money. It's really hard on you." Qingguang shook his head. "There's nothing hard about it. Every family has its own problems. Many people at my age are already working on construction sites. Compared to them, I'm nothing." Zhuo Jingxi was amused by his carefree manner. She slightly forgot about the unhappiness in Fatty Wang's office. "You're quite open-minded." Shrugging his shoulders, Qingguang replied, "That's life. How can everything go as one wishes?" Zhuo Jingxi couldn't help but pat his shoulder. "You're young, but you have quite a lot of philosophy." Qingguang chuckled. "Teacher Zhuo, you're only a few years older than me. This life, it's like being—" "Stop. You stop right there. You don't have to say the rest of the sentence. I know how you little boys talk. I've led you astray again. It's like this. Considering your family's special situation, I plan to reserve the first-class scholarship for the next semester, which is your senior year. It's a lot of money. It's a whole 10,000. Zhuo Jingxi exclaimed in her heart that it was a close shave. She had almost been led into a ditch by this brat. Fortunately, she was on guard. It would not be so easy to take advantage of her teacher verbally. She had completely forgotten that when she and Qingguang were tugging at each other just now, he had taken all the advantages, let alone taking advantage of her verbally. On the other hand, Qingguang was in a difficult position. The scholarship had nothing to do with him, the king of truancy. "Teacher Zhuo, as far as I know, there are only 5 first-class scholarships in our entire 3rd year, but there are a total of 14 classes in the same year. This isn't something that I can get just because I want to, right? I think we should just forget about it." Qingguang beat the drum of retreat loudly. It was not that he did not love money, but he knew how difficult this matter was. Zhuo Jingxi put on a straight face as if she had already seen through him. "Come on, I know you don't like to study. But, at the end of the term, you have to do well on your exams. As long as you can get more than 85 points in every subject, I will snatch this first-class scholarship back for you even if I have to. That's settled then. Oh, right, you guys are about to take the CET4 exam, right? You have to pass the CET4 exam. If you want a sports car to earn money, I won't interfere with this matter, but you can't fall behind in your studies. There are so many people in the class, so I will only apply for your first-class scholarship. Do as you see fit." Qingguang's eyes widened. "Big sister, without saying a word, you just pushed me into the fire." The old man went to be the god of racing instructor and earned 100,000 a day. For your 10,000, I have to drag every subject from barely passing to above 85 points. This investment and output are not proportional at all. To be honest, Teacher Zhuo, this is a bit difficult. I'm afraid I can't do it. I will definitely pass the CET4 exam, but just getting 85 points in every subject is as difficult as ascending to heaven," Qingguang said truthfully. Zhuo Jingxi's pair of beautiful eyes shone as she looked at him. Aren't you quite capable? Why are you giving up before you even try? This is different from the Qin Guang I know. Qin Guang sighed. Do you know the sorrow of a bad student? How can you understand the loneliness of a bad student? Don't give me that bullshit. All right, you are the famous Qin Hui in our school who kneels in front of the CET4 exam. How can you suddenly guarantee that you will pass the CET4 exam? Zhuo Jingxi was curious about this matter because it reminded her of what that damn fatty Wang Ren said just now and gave her another headache. Qin Guang's mouth was wide open. Damn it, when did I become the Qin Hui who kneels in front of me? Which immoral son of a bitch gave me this nickname? Bai Nyangzi, who was lying in bed sleeping, sneezed violently. His snot shot straight into the wall like a bullet. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at in a new light. Anyway, I can swear to the heavens that if I don't pass the CET4 exam this time, I will go to Mount Zhongnan to be a Taoist priest. Alright, you really have to be careful of that bastard Wang Ren. He's so cheap. If he dares to make any unreasonable requests of you, don't be afraid. Tell me and I will bring the whole class, no, the whole school to support you. I don't believe that guy can overturn the heavens. As Qin Guang spoke, he suddenly changed the topic to Wang Ren. Teacher Zhuo, tell me, what did he do to you just now? We know that bastard's tricks. When Zhuo Jingxi heard this, her heart was moved. She finally relented and told him what happened. What? That bastard? Isn't he making things difficult for me? How could he do that? I'll go beat him up. After listening to Zhuo Jingxi's story, Qin Guang propped himself up from the chair, slammed the table, and pretended to go to Fatty Wang's office. Zhuo Jingxi hurriedly pulled him from behind. Don't mess around. If I knew you were so impulsive, I wouldn't have told you. Although this is troublesome, it's also an opportunity. Qin Guang stopped in his tracks. *CK, I just slapped his right hand. Don't worry about the details, just smash the can. Teacher Zhuo, you really think highly of our classmates. How is this an opportunity? We're only third-year students, and he actually wants you to bring us to have an academic exchange with a student group from MIT? Yes, the other party is also an undergraduate student like us, but how can this be the same? What kind of school is that? MIT? Besides, in our entire class, there isn't a single person who can communicate fluently in English, right? Not to mention this kind of academic exchange with professional jargon? Isn't this making things difficult for us? How are we supposed to communicate with others? With Qin Guang's temper, he had even forgotten about this hidden expert of his. Zhuo Jingxi sighed but did not say anything. This bastard, he even said that all of our class signed up for the school sports. What kind of positive collective performance is this? What kind of academic exchange opportunity was specially assigned to our class? This is pure nonsense. He's making things difficult for you, Teacher Zhuo. He wants to make you fall. Qin Guang slammed the table again, but this time he used his left hand. How could I fall twice in the same pit? Chapter 119. Zhuo Jingxi saw that he was excited again and quickly said, Qin Guang, calm down. Forget it, the matter has already been settled, and the leaders have already agreed. What else can I say? I'll just bite the bullet and do it. Seeing her like this, Qin Guang was helpless. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. If it was before today, he wouldn't have cared so much about Zhuo Jingxi. However, now that he had taken advantage of her, he felt that this teacher was really a good person. She was gentle and considerate to him, and she even wanted to help him get a scholarship. Just now he had made her cry and he felt that he owed her. Now that Qin Guang had personally witnessed Wang Ren's underhanded move, it wasn't hard for him to figure out the ins and outs of this matter when he recalled the fatty's vicious reputation. That grandson must have seen that Zhuo Jingxi was a bit eager for success at work, so he planned to use his position and power to threaten Teacher Zhuo and try to make her submit. To put it bluntly, he wanted to use the unspoken rules. After killing that girl, this guy had restrained himself for a whole year, and now he finally couldn't hold it in anymore? It was no wonder. After all, Zhuo Jingxi was indeed a bit too beautiful. In addition, she was a new counselor who had just graduated and was very addicted to being an official at work, eager to achieve results. Flies don't bite seamless eggs. With Wang Ren's audacity, of course he would be tempted and take action. I'm going to take care of this. Fatty Wang, you can jump all you want. One day, I'll beat you up so badly that your whole family won't recognize you. Qin Guang still didn't know what would happen in the future, but he really couldn't run away from today's matter. Thinking that Zhuo Jingxi was about to suffer a big loss, the more Qin Guang thought about it, the angrier he got. Finally, he glared angrily. The other party is a world-famous top university. How can they send a small fry to our country? We've messed things up and we're going to embarrass ourselves internationally. This should at least be the graduate school's business. It's not too much to send a PhD student for an exchange. If he sends you to our class, he'll be hoping that you'll embarrass yourself and mess up the academic exchange with MIT. It'll be a huge disaster for you as a counselor. Zhuo Jingxi finally opened her mouth and sighed. Sigh, it is indeed so. But what could I do? Sun Xiaoxuan is the one with the best English scores in the class, right? I've talked to her before. She has no problem with simple daily conversations, but in an academic exchange her level is far lower. Even I am not qualified to do so. Moreover, there is no reason for me, a teacher, to be responsible for the entire academic exchange between students. After she finished speaking, she frowned again. From the moment Wang Ren announced this matter in front of her, the outcome was more or less determined. It would definitely be messed up, and her image in the eyes of the academy's leaders would definitely take a nosedive. Teacher Zhuo, I'm afraid this matter isn't that simple, right? Wang Ren wouldn't cause trouble for you for no reason. Tell me the truth, did he threaten you before? Chen Guang finally asked about this matter, his eyes flashing with a dangerous light. Zhuo Jingxi turned her face away, unwilling to talk more. No, Chen Guang's face darkened. It's useless even if you don't admit it. I can guess it. Everyone can guess it. Fatty Wang is that kind of person. Teacher Zhuo, you're muddle-headed. Your avoidance and forbearance reminds me of someone. Don't tell me you don't know what happened to that girl last year? Zhuo Jingxi's body trembled, but she still didn't turn her face away. She only nodded slightly. Yes, I know. Chen Guang felt a sense of sorrow for her misfortune and anger at her lack of ambition. He was secretly glad that he hadn't misjudged her. Although Zhuo Jingxi was addicted to being an official, she didn't lose her principles. Otherwise this wouldn't have happened. Forbearance will only make this kind of evil person take a mile after taking an inch. It will only make him crazier. Do you think that if you reject him once, there won't be a second time? A third time? Sooner or later you'll be forced into a dead end by him. When that time comes, what will you do? Chen Guang said as he carefully looked at Zhuo Jingxi's face from the side. Unexpectedly, the struggle on Zhuo Jingxi's face only lasted for a few seconds. What replaced it was a sense of relief. She laughed. If it really has to be like that, I'll just quit being a counselor. Do you think I'll be taken advantage of by Fatty Wang? As she spoke, she laughed out loud as if she had really let go of a knot in her heart. Chen Guang also laughed. See, you still won't admit it? I understand even if you don't say it. I didn't say anything. Sai, don't do anything stupid. Although it hurts me to lose my job, you're different from me. You're still a student. If you get expelled from school, it will ruin your life. Zhuo Jingxi started to worry for Chen Guang again. Chen Guang shook his head. Of course. Don't worry, I'm not stupid. But I, Chen Guang, will never suffer such losses. We don't know what other dirty tricks he has up his sleeve and we can't care about it. Of course, I won't suffer such losses, and I can't be such a despicable person. But for this academic exchange, you don't have to worry at all. A Chen Guang will support you. Wang Ren can never have his way. I can't watch the tragedy repeat itself. Old Master Chen Guang finally thought of something. Damn, I'm a little stupid. How could I forget such an important thing? It's just an academic exchange with international friends. What's the big deal? The old man was the king of English who had been on the Anne Royal with a medieval European accent for 20 years. Now, when I open my mouth, it's full of gentlemanly medieval English. Even this king can't pronounce it like a normal American. Let me ask, who in this world has a more standard, more noble, and more elegant English than the old man? At that time, when the old man opens his mouth, with his classical gentlemanly accent, wouldn't that shock the group of Americans? Do I still need to worry about this? This king will personally do it. Cure the disease. The more Chen Guang thought about it, the more excited he became. Especially when he thought about how his lousy English was famous in the hearts of the entire class. At that time he would fiercely blast it out in front of the entire class. It would definitely blind everyone's corium or dog eyes. Anyway, he would be able to scare everyone silly, especially by Nyangzi and Lin Jingwei, these two scumbags who passed the 4th level in their first year. Thinking back to the past 3 years, these two scumbags would occasionally joke about his 4th level. Chen Guang felt like crying. What he hated the most was something Bai Nyangzi once said. Brother Guang, the registration fee is 30 yuan per semester, but you've already wasted 150 yuan. I say, why don't you treat us to a meal? At least after we eat, we can still fart out of our buttocks and smell it even if it's smelly. What kind of evil was that? How hurtful was this? Unfortunately, I have nothing to say in response. However, this time, I want to have a change of fortune. In the past you ignored me, but now you can't even reach me. You bastards. Just wait to be subdued by the old man's shocking medieval gentlemanly accent. Therefore, Wang Rin stirring up this mess was really an opportunity for him. Not only was it an opportunity for teacher Zhuo to earn his work performance, but it was also an opportunity for me, the King of English, Qin Guang, to shock the world. Mortals, kneel. Chapter 120. The more Qin Guang thought about it, the more excited he became. His body couldn't stop trembling. Zhuo Jingxi looked at him in horror, as if she was looking at a lunatic. Oh no, he's crazy. He's sick, very sick. She had already quietly reached for her phone. No, I have to call 120 first to calm myself. No, I should contact the mental hospital directly. 120 may not be able to subdue him. Qin Guang was lost in his endless reverie when he suddenly felt that there was something wrong with Zhuo Jingxi's gaze. He retracted his soul and saw that her finger was already on her phone. There were 3 huge numbers on it, 120. Teacher Zhuo. What do you mean by this? Don't tell me you're questioning my strength? That's too much. Qin Guang looked at Zhuo Jingxi with a rather resentful gaze. I wanted to help you out and save your life, and this is how you repay me? It's 120 and not 110. I really should thank you. Zhuo Jingxi silently put away her phone, then stood up, expressionlessly took out a folder from the file cabinet behind her, flipped it open and took out 5 pieces of paper. She spread them out on the table and arranged them neatly just like playing cards. Qin Guang turned his head and looked. Damn, isn't this the registration form for the past 5 times I've applied for the CET4 exam? Why is it so precious and kept in the counselor's file cabinet? Teacher Shin. Heavenly states. Oh no, the recuperating teacher Shin, what kind of bad taste do you have? I've respected you so much in the past. I didn't expect you to be such a counselor. You've really disappointed me. Zhuo Jingxi didn't say much. She still looked at Qin Guang with a pair of dead fish eyes. After a long time, she faintly spat out 2 words, Qin Hui. Oh my, it's here. It's this shameful nickname of one-hit kill, again. The one kneeling in Lin and City was Qin Hui's treacherous image, but the old man was a real man who was about to soar in front of the CET4 exam. How could they be compared? Teacher Zhuo, let me tell you, I'm not bragging. After half a semester of hard work, my current English level, let alone CET4, even if you asked me to be a simultaneous translator, I wouldn't even stutter. The academic exchange this time really belongs to me. As long as I'm here, there won't be a problem. The other party is also an undergraduate student, so his professional knowledge won't be too strong. It's a competition of oral English. Qin Guang's head hurt like hell. I'm obviously telling the truth, real gold and silver, why don't you believe me? Zhuo Jingxi saw that he was so resolute, and she couldn't help but start to doubt. Could it be that the rumors were wrong? Was he really one of those rare geniuses? It was just that he was usually lazy, and once he was forced to a dead end, he took it seriously and his learning ability was off the charts? Forget it. Anyway, there was no one else I could count on now. It seemed like I could really treat a dead horse as a living one. I could count on him and test his skills first. That's fine. I'll just randomly pick a word. Can you read it and explain it to me? As Zhuo Jingxi spoke, she flipped open a professional English magazine on her desk. She randomly flipped to a page and pointed at a word on it. Although Zhuo Jingxi was a counselor and didn't care about the specific courses, she was also a graduate of Jinhuan College and was still studying for her PhD. The random book she picked up was really a new international professional thesis collection. Qin Guang was disdainful. What a joke. She actually used the weakest method of recognizing words to test me. She's looking down on me, isn't she? Thinking back, the old man was the man who wrote thousands of love letters to Captain Annie. With an insufferably arrogant aura, Qin Guang said heavily, "Of course, there's no problem." Then he turned his gaze to Zhuo Jingxi's fingertips. What the F***ck? What is this? I know every single letter, but why do they look so unfamiliar when put together? I don't know. I choose death. He couldn't be blamed. After a rough count, the word that Zhuo Jingxi pointed at had nearly 20 letters. It was indeed a combination of terms that often appeared in professional English. But as pirates, we have never used this kind of word. Qin Guang was really annoyed this time. His face was red. Zhuo Jingxi sighed. Sigh, I almost believed it. She was also indescribably disappointed. Anyway, this time she was going to be harmed by Wang Rin, right? At this moment, Qin Guang grew anxious. This won't do. I must redeem my image. He quickly picked up another magazine and carefully looked at the cover. Fortunately, it was not that professional. Teacher Zhua, I'll read this paragraph to you. You'll understand immediately. I'm just lacking in vocabulary, but with my current feeling of English, it'll only take a few days. I'll just need to cram a little. After saying that, he really began to read. About 15 minutes later, Zhuo Jingxi's mouth was wide open. She looked at Chen Guang as if she had seen a ghost. She was also a graduate student and a doctoral student at the university. Her English was indeed not bad. It was just that her participation in academic discussions was passable, but her listening, reading, and writing skills were far above the average level. But she had to admit that she was stunned by Chen Guang's medieval accent. If she hadn't seen the little boy in front of her, Zhuo Jingxi would have thought that the person who had read the entire document perfectly was an aristocrat from England. She couldn't tell where Chen Guang's accent came from. She only knew that it made her feel especially comfortable. Even the school radio announcer couldn't compare to Chen Guang's standard and lingering accent. You, where the hell did you learn this from? Even Jin Dongfang's teacher can't compare to you, right? Zhuo Jingxi's own accent was practiced at Jin Dongfang. As she spoke, she compared it in her memory and came to a conclusion. Her teacher at Jin Dongfang was far inferior compared to Chen Guang. That was the difference between the light of a grain of rice and the brilliance of the sun and the moon. Chen Guang secretly wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He was scared to death. Fortunately, there weren't any unfamiliar words in the document. He took out the state he was in when he was reading a love letter to Captain Annie. At the critical moment, he reined in his horse at the precipice and redeemed his image. Therefore, he very suavely turned his head and posed at a 45-degree angle to the sky. Then he slowly turned his face and smiled at Zhuo Jingxi. How is it? Teacher Zhuo, my English is passable, right? I'm really just lacking a little vocabulary. I'll go back and memorize the professional vocabulary. Then you guys can prepare the thesis in advance. It'll be a cinch to deal with this academic exchange. Zhuo Jingxi's head nodded like a chick pecking rice. Passable. Of course it's passable. Then? We're done? Chen Guang asked. Zhuo Jingxi nodded fiercely. Done. After saying this, her face suddenly turned red. She could hear the trap in Chen Guang's words. She didn't know what to think, but she just glanced at Chen Guang from the corner of her eyes. Then she stuck out her finger and tapped on Chen Guang's forehead. You brat, it's impossible to guard against you. Chen Guang just chuckled non-stop. Chapter 121. Just as the two of them settled the matter, the office door was pushed open again. Was that damn fatty again? This bastard didn't seem to have the thought of knocking before entering. When he saw that Chen Guang was still there, the slightly joyful expression on his face disappeared and his brows furrowed again. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. What's wrong with this student? Why is he still haunting me? What an eyesore. He originally wanted to say something but he held it in and didn't say it out loud. Zhuo Jingxi was chatting happily with Chen Guang just a moment ago, but when she saw Fatty Wang, the smile on her face disappeared. She couldn't fall out with Fatty Wang after all, so she tidied up her clothes that were messed up when she teased Chen Guang and stood at the office door. Director Wang, do you have any other instructions? Fatty Wang paused and decided to say it out loud. Little Zhuo, this academic exchange with MIT is very important to the school. I hope you can prepare well and don't let the school leaders down. If you don't do well, it will directly affect your performance evaluation this semester. Zhuo Jingxi's expression changed. Wang Ren sounded like he was encouraging her, but it was clearly a threat. If it was before, she was afraid that she would really explode from Fatty Wang's words. She might even pick up the Oxford Dictionary beside the desk and slap him in the face. But now she first looked at Chen Guang and calmed down. She immediately said in a powerful voice, "Thank you for your concern, Director Wang. I also thank the school leaders and Director Wang for giving me this opportunity. Zhuo Jingxi will definitely not let you down." Wang Ren was stunned. Zhuo Jingxi's behavior was different from what he had imagined before he came. When she left my office just now, didn't she look like she wanted to strangle me to death? Why did she suddenly look like she was given a shot of adrenaline in the blink of an eye after only a few minutes? Could it be that it had something to do with this guy? Wang Ren didn't really understand the situation, so he replied in a muffled voice, "Since you're confident, of course it's a good thing. However, if something really happens, don't worry, I'll be there for you." Zhuo Jingxi's expression changed. How could she not understand his unspoken words? However, this was not what she was most worried about. She only thought that Chen Guang understood everything, Yet this damn fatty actually said such dirty words in front of Qin Guang. This brat couldn't possibly, what? He had already gone up. This son of AB asterisk starred actually dared to speak in such a strange manner in front of me. I can't stand it. Fatty Wang. What's wrong? It's been a year and you're starting to get cocky again? Qin Guang stood in front of Wang Ren, standing between the fatty and Zhuo Jingxi. He crossed his arms over his chest and looked at Wang Ren coldly. What did you say? How could Wang Ren have known that Zhuo Jingxi had told her student almost everything? She had thought that her words were very vague, but in the end she had caught Qin Guang off guard. Qin Guang snorted. I say, Fatty Wang, your dog's tail. Why is it cocky again? You. At this moment, Wang Ren was still looking at the student in front of him as a member of the academy's management. Who would have thought that the other party would be so unreasonable? For a moment he was so angry that he couldn't speak. His finger trembled as he wanted to point at Qin Guang. However, he felt weak from Qin Guang's ferocious glare. Wang Ren subconsciously turned his head and suddenly saw the freshly bandaged wound on the student's hand. His gaze lingered on the butterfly knot for a few seconds and his pupils shrank. He seemed to have realized something, but he didn't rush to speak. Instead, he looked at Zhuo Jingxi with a very playful gaze. So that's how it is. Zhuo Jingxi knew what he was thinking about, but there was no need to explain this kind of thing to him. Let him think what he wanted. Little Zhuo, you're quite clever. Your teacher-student relationship is pretty good, Wang Ren said in a strange tone, but he deliberately avoided a direct confrontation with Qin Guang. Zhuo Jingxi's face turned red, but she didn't know how to respond to his words. Qin Guang stood up. Damn fatty, no matter how clever Teacher Zhuo is, he can't be compared to your pitch-black 7 orifices exquisite heart, right? Teacher-student relationship? You have the cheek to say that? Qin Guang said Fatty Wang every time he opened his mouth and called him damn fatty. He even tore open his scars in front of him. Wang Ren wasn't a good-tempered person. That little bit of patience he had vanished in an instant. His face fell in an instant, and he glared angrily at Qin Guang. What's your name? What kind of attitude is this to a teacher? Wang Ren said fiercely. Zhuo Jingxi, keep your student in check. Zhuo Jingxi was about to come forward and stop Qin Guang, but Qin Guang took another step forward and waved his hand in front of Fatty Wang's face. Of course I respect ordinary teachers. But you're Fatty Wang Ren. Everyone knows it, so I won't beat around the bush. Today I'll throw out the ugly words in front of you. Don't think that no one in this world can control you. You're just a little bigger than a fart, the dean of the discipline department. You don't have the qualifications or the means to cover the sky with one hand. Wang Ren clearly understood the meaning behind Qin Guang's words. He couldn't help but sneer. This Zhuo Jingxi was also stupid. Could it be that she was counting on this student to stand up for her? Even if you know something, you won't be able to stop anything. Don't be unreasonable here, you brat. Even if you really manage to get your hands on this girl Zhuo Jingxi, the most you can do is help me develop her a little more. That would save me the trouble when the time comes. Do you really think that you can be fearless in this world just because you have a big temper? You can't change anything. Just you wait, your teacher Zhuo will obediently climb into my bed sooner or later, and you won't be able to do anything about it. Not only that, I won't let you off, brat. In this school, I can really cover the sky with one hand when dealing with a troublesome student like you. I'll find out your name, you brat. Just you wait. Our school doesn't need students like you who don't know how to respect their teachers. Wang Ren stretched out his finger and pointed at Qin Guang's head. Qin Guang suddenly stretched out his hand without a sound, pinched his finger and forcefully twisted it back. Wang Ren cried out in pain, "Let go! Let go of me!" Zhuo Jingxi was also frightened. She really didn't expect that Qin Guang would actually dare to make a move on Wang Ren without saying a word. Who the F***ck is wasting time with you? So what if I tell you my name? My name is Qin Guang. If you really have the ability, why don't you let me go now? What reason do you use? Did I call you Fatty Wang? Damn fatty? Did I pinch your finger? That's right, you're very precious, our school's national treasure. Why don't you let me go? Qin Guang was still pinching Fatty Wang's hand. Zhuo Jingxi, who was beside him, was very anxious. She wanted to pull Qin Guang's hand away, but she realized that this brat was actually using his injured right hand. She didn't dare to use too much force and only said, "Qin Guang, that's enough. That's enough. Don't use any more force." Wang Ren kept pulling his hand down, trying to break free. Qin Guang loosened his hand, causing Wang Ren to almost fall. Chapter 122. Wang Ren stood up. He initially wanted to say something harsh, but the pain on his fingers still hasn't disappeared. Although Qin Guang didn't look robust, his ferocious appearance made Wang Ren feel guilty. So Wang Ren held back his words and walked 2 steps away before turning back. Just you wait. Just you wait. Qin Guang chuckled. And I'll wait. You wait too. When Fatty Wang finally walked far away, Zhuo Jingxi slammed the office door shut. She turned around and fiercely pulled Qin Guang's shoulder. She said angrily, "What the hell are you thinking? Didn't I tell you not to do anything stupid? Why did you offend him so directly? Even if he can't do anything to you this time, what will you do if he picks on you in the future? He is the dean of the school's discipline department. If he really wants to punish a student, who can stop him? Why are you so naive and impulsive? You're really going to piss me off." Qin Guang did not care and shrugged. Instead, he smiled lightly and patted Zhuo Jingxi's head. "Teacher Zhuo, you're naive. It's not me, it's you." She did not expect this little brat to suddenly make such an intimate move and even put on a mature and prudent look. He was completely different from the person he was just now. Zhuo Jingxi was stunned for a few seconds before she regained her senses. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Qin Guang sat down again and first checked the bandage on his right hand. After confirming that there was no blood seeping out, he said, "Teacher Zhuo, what do you think Fatty Wang's purpose in making things difficult for you?" Zhuo Jingxi saw that he was really serious and calmed down a little. She wanted to see what he could say, but she was really embarrassed to answer his question. "If you're embarrassed to say it, then I won't point it out. But we both understand. But what if, when that day comes, I jump out and mess up what he thought was in the bag? Tell me, who do you think he hates the most?" Qin Guang said as he pointed at his own face. Zhuo Jingxi's mouth was wide open. After a while she said, "It's really you." "That's right. He's petty, insidious, and vicious. I've ruined his plans, so he must hate me to the core. So, regardless of what happened just now, the grudge between me and Fatty Wang has been sown the moment I decided to help you. Since that's the case, why should I swallow my anger in front of him? Don't you understand what I've told you before? If wolves and hungry tigers want to eat your flesh, even if you kneel down and beg them, they will still rush up and bite you to death." Zhuo Jingxi was completely stunned. Qin Guang's words were like a huge rock smashing into her heart. In fact, she really didn't think that much before. She just felt happy. A matter that could have ruined her career actually happened to be solved by her student. She was only excited and grateful, but she didn't realize that this student's seemingly casual decision hid great courage and determination. "Qin Guang, I'm sorry. I dragged you into this. Otherwise, let's just forget about it." Zhuo Jingxi turned her face away. She was indeed ashamed. In front of this student, it was her teacher who acted so immature and naive. She didn't know what was in this kid's head. He was so young, but how could he think so clearly? Qin Guang stood up and moved in front of Zhuo Jingxi. He reached out his hand to comfort her. "Teacher Zhuo, you're in the wrong. What's there to drag? Before your identity as a student, Qin Guang, was a man first. This is called helping when one sees injustice. Don't give up. I've already stood up for it. How can I back out now? What's more, you're so pretty, you have a good figure, and you're gentle to me. How can I bear to watch you walk into a tiger's mouth?" Of course, Qin Guang wouldn't say the second half of his words. At this time his image was shining. Zhuo Jingxi hummed softly. Her heart was indescribably touched. Qin Guang sighed again. "Teacher Zhuo, you don't know. What happened last year is really the last thing that all the boys in our academy want to think about. Even without you, I still don't have a good temper with Fatty Wang." Zhuo Jingxi didn't know what to say. She only sighed. "Sigh. Don't make wild guesses without evidence." Qin Guang only smiled coldly. Of course, if there was evidence, would he be able to stay here comfortably? However, justice has long arms. He was well behaved for a whole year, and now he's inflated again. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. As long as he gives himself away, he'll be in trouble sooner or later. He didn't have a chance in the past, but as long as there's a chance, whether it's me or any boy with a sense of justice in the academy, will want to personally avenge that girl. Zhuo Jingxi hummed again, but she was still worried for Qin Guang. "All right, come, Teacher Zhuo. Smile for me. Didn't Fatty Wang think wrongly just now? Why don't we just make it real? Otherwise, I'll be at a big disadvantage. It's not worth it." Seeing that she was still gloomy, Qin Guang chuckled and suddenly reached out his hand toward Zhuo Jingxi's fair and delicate face. Zhuo Jingxi didn't expect this guy, who was a saint just now, to suddenly turn into a hooligan. She quickly blocked his hand. "You're not serious. How dare you take advantage of me? Qin Guang had a wretched smile on his face. How is this taking advantage of me? This is called acting. That's right, I haven't come out of acting yet. He laughed strangely and suddenly slapped Zhuo Jingxi's beautiful butt. Then, without waiting for her reaction, he opened the door and ran out. Class is almost starting. I'm going to the academic building. Zhuo Jingxi was extremely embarrassed and chased after him from the office. Qin Guang you, but she couldn't scold him in the end. There was still a burning sensation on her butt and her face was boiling hot. This guy. His sneak attack was successful. Zhuo Jingxi stomped her feet angrily. Only then did she realize that her current state would cause others to misunderstand her. She quickly covered her face and returned to the office. She closed the door and leaned her back against it. She realized that her heart was beating very fast and her breathing was a little erratic. But what made her even more panicked was that she wasn't angry at all. Zhuo Jingxi didn't know that her behavior just now had indeed fallen into the eyes of someone with ulterior motives. Wang Ren's office was in the inner part of the school building. It was directly facing Zhuo Jingxi. Ever since this guy returned to his office, he had been quietly watching from the gap in his curtains. He saw Qin Guang run out with a wretched smile and Zhuo Jingxi chase after him with a blushing face. He was even more convinced of his guess. These two people really had an affair. You slut. You're as tough as a saint in front of me. You'd rather break than bend, but behind my back you're getting intimate with a student. Qin Guang, just you wait. I'll let you know the price. Back then, even if I was the one who did it, so what? I Wang Ren am still here. Who can do anything to me? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.